Hello, everybody. It's Chris Bellotti from the Full40. Welcome to the Twitter space here. We're going to give everyone a couple minutes, including our guests. We have Rob, who is obviously my co-host on the podcast. He's here with us. We also have Tommy Godin from Road to the Garden, VU Hoops. We have Chris Notaro from Villanova Tip Time, Villanova's only pregame show. So we are pretty much getting ready to go here. I'm just waiting for our guests to get started, but looking forward to speaking with you all today. So just give us a minute or two and we will give it a go. All right. Looks like A-Ray has just joined us, and we're just getting him up to the podium here. A-Ray, how you doing? We can hear you if you're ready.
What's up, guys? You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
All right. Let's do it.
Good to have you. Let's do it. So let me set the room here. Collin Gillespie said he would join as well, so we'll get started with A-Ray. So hello, everybody, and welcome to the Full40's Twitter space. Chris Bellotti from the Full40 with Chris, Rob, and Willie. We're excited to have some special guests, including Allan Ray tonight. And it looks like Collin might be in too. Just waiting to get him. I got to find him. There he is. I'm going to get him up here too.
Where's the theme music?
The theme music for the podcast. Oh man, I wish we could get that going on here, but Twitter only gives me a little bit of leeway here. Collin, how you doing?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good. So our guests need no introduction, but I'm going to give it anyway. So A-Ray is here. Obviously, you know his jersey hangs in the rafters. 2,000-plus point scorer, All-American, Naismith Award finalist, 2006. In 2005 and 6, A-Ray helped lead Nova to the first Sweet 16 and Elite 8 of the J. Wright era, and his class is appropriately credited with launching the J. Wright era of Villanova basketball. On the other side, we have Collin Gillespie, whose jersey will definitely hang in the rafters someday alongside A-Ray's, an All-American, Big East Player of the Year, critical member of the 2018 Big East Tournament and National Championship teams, won multiple Big East regular season and tournament crowns, and led last year's team to its fourth Final Four in 13 seasons. And we didn't know it at the time, but also ushered out J. Wright's era of Villanova basketball. So clearly two esteemed guests. And as I mentioned before, we have Rob, my co-host, Tommy Godin from Road to the Garden, VU Hoops, and Chris Notaro from Villanova Tip Time as well. Tonight we're here to discuss the start to the season and Kyle Neptune's era. We sit at 8-9, obviously following a challenging 2-5 start with multiple injuries, won 5 in a row to get back in control of the schedule, lost 4 of our last 5, and are back to having multiple injuries with Justin Moore remaining out and Jordan Longino possibly not back for a few weeks, seemingly at minimum. Obviously, start's not ideal. There's plenty of emotions among the fan base, and we'll try and discuss all of that tonight. I'll remind you, our Twitter space is we want to hear from you. So if you want to speak, tap the request button on the bottom left to speak. When you get the microphone, please remember to hit unmute. And then you can go ahead and ask your question or provide your thoughts. The only ground rule that I'll ask of everybody is just to be as respectful as possible. Look, we curse on the podcast all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. But just please try and be respectful of players, staff, each other. Definitely want to hear your thoughts, criticisms, whatever your emotions are feeling at the time, but just obviously try and be respectful. So I am going to pose my opening question to A-Ray and then to Collin. I'm interested to get your thoughts on what is your opinion as to the biggest individual challenge that this team is facing right now.
Um, I'll go first. I feel like it's the chemistry. You can see it on offense and defense. I think that's just like the biggest thing right now. They just can't find a way to gel, and you see little spurts of it during the game, and then like you won't see it for a little while. So I just really think it's like the chemistry. I think if they could at least get some chemistry down, that'll help out a lot with them offensively and defensively.
Okay. Collin, your thoughts?
Nah, A-Ray hit it on the head. Chemistry is a big part of it. I mean, you got a couple of guys who are older, experienced, haven't been in those roles before, so they're getting used to their roles now. And then a bunch of younger guys sprinkled in, so they have to get comfortable playing with each other. And I think it starts there, and the older guys got to lead it and make sure that um, they're talking on the floor, communicating with younger guys, and making sure everything's running smoothly.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess my question then on the chemistry point is it just time? Like, is there a way to create chemistry like mid-season? Is it something that, hey, you just need to latch on to something positive? Or is it could be anything?
I think
Um,
it's time.
yeah, I want to piggyback off of what Colin said about you know these guys and with the chemistry and them having new roles. I think that's also important too. A lot of guys got new roles that they're growing into. They got to get used to that. It's not easy to jump into a new role from what you had the year before. So I think that was a real good point that Colin brought up.
Yeah, so I guess I want to talk about a number of different things here tonight, and obviously, as I mentioned, well, want to hear everyone's thoughts and requests. And we actually do have a request already, Patty Esposito. I'm going to bring her up right now. Patty, you're up. If you can come off of mute, you're ready to go. Patty, you there? Can you hear?
Patty,
Patty's having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll keep going. I guess, guys, one of the things that we are that I think a lot of the people are seeing, and the Ken Palm statistics bear it out, is the defensive side of the coin. What do you think what do you think are the biggest challenges from on the team is facing from the defensive side? I obviously we've heard chemistry, but I want to dig in a little bit deeper. Obviously, it's a big switching defense. What do you think is causing the team to not be able to get the stops they need to get, especially down the stretching games?
go ahead, CG.
It's just little breakdowns. I mean, it all boils back down to chemistry and rotations, younger guys communicating on the floor. I think that's what it all boils back down to. I mean, you're pairing a bunch of guys, older guys who played with more older guys last year who knew what they were doing, expected each other to be in certain spots, and now you're bringing in younger guys who are trying to catch up and get past the learning curve. But that only takes time with playing together, practicing together. I mean, you guys have guys in and out with injuries and other stuff. Then it's going to be difficult to kind of gel and get that chemistry, communication on the defensive end too. It's the same thing with offense, but um, I think the more you see a healthy team play together, get guys back, they're going to gel faster and it's going to look better. They're going to know where each other is supposed to be at and where they expect each other to be at. So rotations will look better, switches will look better, etc., all the way down the line.
So Colin, you were in a freshman too long ago. That switching defense, what are the specific things that are really challenging to get? Is it just like the communication element? Is it is it the strength and in your case, your point guard is the strength to be able to switch onto a 5-man? Like, what are the specific things that your teammates and you have struggled with to get that switching defense down?
Communication is a big part of it, but as a freshman, you're playing against high school kids the year before, and it's a totally different game. It's more physical, it's faster, so the speed of the game is different. So you got to catch up to that part of it, and it doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't happen through the first 10 games. Only for certain guys who can pick it up right away. So, me personally, uh, communication wasn't that hard for me because I'm used to communicating, and I was just trying to stay on the floor. So as a freshman, I was going to do whatever it took, and that was listening to the older guys and picking up on it in practice, asking questions, watching film. Like, all that has to happen. But once you get on the court, then your reaction time takes over, and your skill and your talent and your habits, what you work on in practice. So, like I said, the more you practice it, the more they practice it together, the better they're going to get at it, the better they're going to look together as a group.
Yeah, Ray. So I'm curious your thoughts as well. Obviously, you guys were at the beginning of the Jay Wright era. You guys came off to a slow start there. You had 2 NIT trips, and it wasn't really until your junior year that you guys really got it rolling. But what was how challenging was it to really absorb that as a freshman, and go through that? And you obviously got some playing time given the status of the program at that time. But how difficult was it for you?
It was difficult at first. It was a lot to process, honestly. Because let's say you're like guarding a Ben Gordon, and you now you got to switch onto a Mecca Okafor. So you got to know his tendencies now in the post, like what he likes to do. And you was just guarding Ben Gordon, who's a completely different player. And then you got to know that for everybody on the court because you like to switch a lot on the defense. So it was just a lot to process. And one of the big things is tendencies, just knowing players' tendencies. That also helps out a lot too. And that comes down to game plan as well. We used to have like a super elaborate game plan. I know CG know about them game plans, watching film. So it was a lot to process, but I think it just came with time and maturity, and we was able to get it rolling our junior year.
Yeah. All right. We have a question coming in from Rashid Sunflower, so I'm going to bring him up. Um, Rashid, you're joining now. If you come off as speaker, what do you got for us?
All right, so I got a quick question. So I've been following Villanova basketball for years now, and I really want to ask this to A. Ray and Collin, just by playing in the program, but just watching, especially with this team and with this roster and with this makeup, I feel like a big issue for us to start the year is we aren't playing with enough pace. So even like defensively, I feel like teams are getting the runouts, teams are getting out on the break a lot on us because we're playing too much, I think, under the shot clock. It's 10 seconds left before we get into something. And that's kind of been my beef for the last 10 years, but we had great lead guards and Collin and Jalen and Ryan, Josh Hart, who always got us into good looks. I think this team especially needs to play with more pace. Mark, Caleb, Slater. I think Slater would be way more effective. Cam, ED, Rim, Eric Dixon, rim running. How do you guys feel about just us maybe playing with more pace, especially this year with how our roster makeup is?
I think that's a real good question. Uh, I want to say when Cam got back, we really started playing well defensively. We was holding teams in the 60s in points, and I thought that we would do a good job and build on there. But it kind of seemed like we took a step back from that. I do feel like somebody had brought this up to me. It kind of seemed like Villanova plays safe ball. Like it looks like they trying not to make turnovers, not make mistakes, and I think that's where the frustration comes in with everybody. We all want to see them run and everything like that, but you know, that's kind of like the system now. It's always been like that. These guys are trying not to turn the ball over, want to make the right plays and execute. So I get where you coming from with that, and where everybody else is coming from with that. I just think that that's that's going to be with the coach and how they decide to continue to play. To be honest,
Yeah, I get it. I get it too. But I loved coming out of high school. I played up and down, and then I got there, and the game slowed down a lot, and it was all about executing, getting the best shots possible, and watching the DePaul game. Honestly, I think we got a lot of shots with 20 seconds left on the shot clock and up. And that was one of the things that stuck out to me. I was like, we're taking quick shots, and it's almost like playing a pickup game. And that's not Villanova. Like, that's not how we've played for the last couple of years. We got down late in the shot clock, let guys make decisions out of the post, kick outs, extra passes. So I think if you're going up and down, a lot of teams like that kind of play. They like playing that pace. A lot of teams don't like to guard for 30, 25, 30 seconds in a shot clock, and um, that's how you tire teams out. You wear them down throughout a game, and then in the second half with 5 minutes left, um, you're feeling good about getting shots when they're struggling to scramble around with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, getting the best shot possible. Sometimes we're getting really early contested twos, deep threes, and granted, if they're open, you got to take them, you got to shoot them. But I think we got to look to get better shots and look to execute more, um, and not try to rush as much. I think guys, the ball's pounding a lot. Got to get back to moving it, getting drives and kicks and jump stops and kick out opposites, extra passes.
Is some of it a personnel issue? Just like Cam and his athleticism. I mean, Brendan Slater's always struck me as a guy who probably performs a little bit better in an open floor transition environment. And then Mark obviously is super athletic and quick. Obviously, there's high level athletes across the team. Is some of it a little bit of the personnel is a little bit more oriented to play a little bit quicker, and it's a little bit in between in that we have personnel that might be better suited to play quicker, but the style of play that we normally play is a little bit more methodical. Is some of it that?
I think you could still play quick. You just got to get stops. If you're taking the ball out of the rim
Yeah.
every 5, 6 out of 10 possessions, then you're not going to get a lot of transition buckets. You got to get stops, and then you can pick and choose when you want to run. Like a team like Creighton, who loves to go up and down and shoot a bunch of threes the last couple of years, normally you're either getting stops and walking up the floor because they don't like to play that way, or a team like Butler who plays similar that'll walk up the floor. Then you could get out and get some transition buckets. But um, I mean, Slate can make a living on the offensive end, just second cutting, catching the shoot, open threes. Cam should be the same way with all the athletes we have, and then Mark is super quick with the ball off the bounce. So I mean, I think he could create for others and be able to get really good shots for everybody else. But I think it's just you pick and choose when you can go in transition and when you could kind of walk it up the floor. But it all starts on defense. You got to get stops to get out in transition.
All right. Thanks, Rashid. Really appreciate your question there. I think my co-host Rob is got a few questions for the guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, guys.
what's up?
hey guys. Got a quick question for you. I think it's pretty easy from a fan perspective to sit back and say, "Hey, look, this record isn't what we want it to be. We're disappointed. Therefore, the fan base is upset." But I think that obviously looks past what's happening in the locker room and what's happening on the team, because presumably the guys are obviously as upset or probably a lot more upset than we are as a fan base. So just curious, like, could you guys give us a little perspective? Obviously, you're both very fortunate in that you were incredibly successful during your careers and didn't have like as much of a down spell while you were at Nova. But could you give us a little insight into like what's happening in the locker room right now? Like in theory, like what are these guys dealing with? How are they looking to overcome it? And I think that'll just kind of help the fan base get a little perspective on what's happening there.
Um, there's no doubt in my mind that these guys are upset that they're losing. There's no doubt in my mind that they want to win the game. I don't think that they're like in the locker room and everybody's like doesn't care about it. I'm positive that everybody cares about it, and it's just frustrating now, honestly. And also, you got to think about the mental aspect too. These guys, it's a lot of pressure. We came into the season with a lot of baggage over us. New coach, Coach Wright leaving, J Mo hurt. So you gotta look at the mental aspect too. That takes a toll. All this pressure on Coach Neptune. Don't think that don't affect him not one bit. So it's a lot going on, and like I said in one of my tweets, I just feel for these guys and just hope that they could get it going. The only thing that they can do is just keep it pushing.
Yeah, like A-Ray said, those guys are working every day. They're putting in work. They're doing the same things that we've done for the last 5, 6 years. They're lifting, practices, film. They're working and they care, but um, and Coach Nepp cares and they want to be better and they're going to do everything possible to get better. Obviously, a new coach and Coach Wright leaving, Justin being injured, Cam was injured at the beginning of the year, but um, A-Ray knows it. I mean, we've had struggles my sophomore year early on, our junior year early on, we struggled. Um, we lost 3 games in a row my junior year, so it's a part of the season. We always talk about it at Villanova. It doesn't matter where you are in the beginning, the middle. You just try to become the best Villanova basketball team you want by the end. And that's always been the thing at Villanova, and I know those guys are going to continue to work at it. They take pride in that stuff, and they're just going to continue to just try to get better each day, and hopefully by the end of the year they become the best Villanova basketball team they can.
Makes total sense. And I just want to follow up too. You guys mentioned kind of the expectations coming into the season, and I will admit I was very guilty of this. I think and I'll speak for probably Chris and I as well too. I think we glossed over or were perhaps too optimistic on how quickly Justin was going to come back and the impact that he obviously had on that team. I'm curious, like, what your guys' take was on your expectations coming into the season and kind of giving a perspective to the rest of the fan base, as you guys are obviously closer to the impact that Justin has on the floor. Were your expectations a little bit more in line with what's kind of played out, assuming he's been out for the time that he has?
Uh, Not really. I didn't think that we would be this close to 500. Honestly, I thought that we would take our bumps and bruises, lose some games here and there, but I never thought that we would be like where we are right now. But that's not to say that there's anything wrong with that. It's just where we're at right now. I didn't have like super expectations. I mean, I didn't have expectations last year, and these guys made it all the way to the Final Four. So you
So
never know.
you didn't believe in Collin, is what you're saying. I'm just putting that on record.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I didn't believe in them.
I'm just giving you shit, A-Ray. Don't worry about it.
Nah, I know. But I mean, we all didn't think that this team was like Final Four. We all gave them Sweet 16, and they just kept pushing and shocked us and made it all the way to Final Four.
That's the journey of a season. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen throughout a season. Nobody could have said that Justin was going to get hurt in the Elite Eight. Like, you don't know who you're going to play. You don't know who's going to be hurt on other teams. So, like, stuff just happens in weird ways, and you just got to continue to grind and push forward, like A-Ray said. But, I mean, I knew going into this year, we were going to struggle. Like, you don't, Coach Wright is a Hall of Fame coach. Nep's the right guy for the job, was with a bunch of these guys for multiple years. He was with Slater for a couple of years, Caleb for a couple of years, Justin for a couple of years. Obviously, not having Justin to start the season hurts. He was supposed to be the guy, the leader, um, the guy who is ball dominant and can do everything and guard the best players. And he was the guy who guarded everybody last year, everybody's best player last year. When you need a tough bucket, you could give him the ball. Jermaine was the same way. He did all the little things, and um, those guys sometimes get underappreciated, but they really did carry the load and do a lot of little things. And now Slate's in a different position because of Justin's injury. Caleb's in a more ball dominant position because of Justin's injury. When he's really a two guard that can guard multiple positions and score it at a high level, and is a really good catch and shoot guy. Um, so he's learned how to be a facilitator now. Arch is in a different role. Eric's got to be more of a scorer, and not be in foul trouble. So I think everybody's in a different position, a different role, and it's tough to deal with that going into a season. So, um, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the point guard position, because I think that's one of the areas, to Rob's point, that we kind of preseason setting expectation, managing expectations, maybe a better way to phrase that. But the point guard role has been an oft talked about role amongst the Villanova fan base, and this goes back years and years. The impact of good guard play. And it's easy to say, hey, next man up, next man up, next man up. And I know that's the way the team thinks about it. You got to be prepared to do your job when you're called upon. And if someone goes down, you got to be ready. But the impact of a point guard, and I'll say this in particular to the Villanova program, A-Ray, you've actually, I've seen you say on Twitter before that it was Kyle who changed kind of like the program a little bit around and helped kind of round out your roster to make you guys into the Sweet 16 Elite 8 team that you were. Collin, in your 2021 season, your junior season, when you went down and Justin went down, we lost a couple games in a row to like Providence and Butler or what have you. Can you guys talk a little bit about the point guard position? Because I think that's one area in which, hey, we said, oh, Justin's down, and obviously Justin's the best player in the team, but like I don't think as a fan base we really fully appreciate how much a point guard makes a difference on this team on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
like Chris is doing what he needs to do. He's running a team. He's getting us into offense, and he's a guy that is going to go out there. He's going to play his ass off every night. He's going to compete for 40 minutes, and he's going to do everything that the coaches ask of him in terms of Villanova basketball. He's going to dive on the floor, take charges, and that's what you need out of your leaders. Like your oldest guys don't have to be your leading scorers. They got to make sure and maintain the culture of Villanova basketball, and it's always been that way. I know Coach probably said it to A-Ray all the time, and you look at him sideways like, but I'm like, it's my turn to score, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But that's really what he cared about. He wants you to be the guy that was going to maintain the culture, be a leader, and make sure that the team was playing Villanova basketball, and he's that guy. Chris has done it. And he did it 2 years ago when me and Justin went down. He filled in. So he's been in big games before. He knows what we're doing offensively. He knows what we're doing defensively. He's going to make sure, or try to make sure, that the team is connected on both ends of the floor. So he's a guy that's just out there you can rely on, you can count on, to make sure that we're playing Villanova basketball. And Mark is going to be really, really good in the next couple of years because he can do a little bit of everything. He's super athletic. He's quick. He can shoot it. And he get it to the rim and finish in a variety of ways. So
Yeah, I mean, I just think that point guard position is a crucial position in Villanova basketball. They just guys like Collin, Jalen, Kyle. These guys just always used to get us going. So, like for example, with Kyle, I always say that all the time. Kyle came in and changed the way we played. It just made everything easier. Me and Randy, we already were like good scorers, so they kind of played us tight, and it gave Kyle an opportunity to really go out there and like establish himself. And once he did that, it was hard for teams to try to key on all three of us. And if I was going, one night, then Randy was going the other night, but Kyle always, every night, brought the same intensity, did the same things, get us wide open shots, get steals. He was a dog on defense. Like, he just fit in and played his role for what we needed for that team. And I think that's great with some of the guards at Villanova. They do the same thing. They do what's good for the team and what they need at that time in order to win. And I think that's like Villanova basketball right there. Like, having a point guard all the time that knows what they're doing. So, and also like Collin said, I think Mark, he's going to get there, but everybody can see that he's really going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that Mark, obviously quite talented. You can see the minutes upticking, starting to get all the different components of our defense getting stronger, getting better. I think one element to Chris Arch's game that goes a little bit underappreciated is that when we're talking about the defensive side, obviously, he brings down a lot more boards than you'd expect from a guard, and then two, his ability to front the post when we get switched out, where Eric's at the top of the key on defense and Arch is down low, his ability to be strong enough to handle that is pretty big. In the Xavier game, I specifically remember that he intercepted a pass trying to go over the top to Nunji. So that's just an example, but that's one element of his game that I think does go a little bit underappreciated.
Yeah, and I think his leadership too. A lot of people overlook that, and I think that's one of the big reasons that he's in the game. He brings a lot of leadership, a lot of veteran leadership, and especially when he's on the court with Mark. I think that helps out a lot too. People got to understand that. You need leadership on the court.
Yep. All right, we got Nova Junkie who's here. You come off of mute when you're ready. But I know you've been up waiting to speak for a while. So if you got a question, we're ready to hear you.
Yeah. So this Nova Junkie here. I'm just trying to understand, like, after seeing this team go 8-9, seeing effectively like no efficiency, quality usage out of Chris Archidiakono, how you guys can sit on this Twitter space and defend him, or Neptune, who's shown no progress, or if anything, like the team has just continued to devolve. We've lost recruits, we've lost Brizzy, we never gave him a chance, and we're pushing a kid who borderline shouldn't even be on a D1 court. It just seems odd to defend like that type of coaching. And I think like I speak for a lot of people who are pretty frustrated and would appreciate like some more calls for Neptune to potentially be fired and Arch
You
cut
sound
from the team.
spoiled. You sound spoiled.
Yeah, there's no way Nep is gonna get fired, but we gotta have patience. It's the cards we dealt right now. Everybody's upset. We all upset. We all want to see everybody win, but it's just the cards that we dealt right now. We can't just be out there pointing fingers already and fire Neptune, and like it's just too premature.
So I guess the question then would be, so why didn't Villanova run like an actual interview process for coaches rather than?
When we were at the Final Four, Jay Wright already knew he was gone. They interviewed multiple people.
So my understanding is that they did not run a formal process and that they like had handpicked Neptune. They didn't interview other coaches from around the country who would have been much more qualified than a guy with 1 year of coaching
Yeah,
experience.
I'm going to step in here. I'm going to step in here for a second. We've had one family tree of coaches for 50 years. Rolly Massimino handed the reins to Steve Lapis. Didn't work out as great. Still was coach for 10 plus years, or about 10 years. Who handed the reins to Jay Wright. Both were Raleigh's assistants. Kyle Neptune was Jay's assistant. The choices were Coach Ash, Kyle Neptune, Baker Dunleavy, a couple other guys who were going to be. Why would Villanova go out of a coaching tree that has gotten to 5 Final Fours and won 3 national championships? Like that. Just think about that for a second.
I think my counterpoint to that would be that like there are plenty of like very successful coaches that do not have super quality coaching trees beneath them. Like I mean, you've seen with Belichick and Saban, like and some other coaches that it's not always necessarily the case. And I don't think you've really seen success out of Baker Dunleavy or Ashley Howard, or, I mean, you didn't really see great success out of Neptune at Fordham. They're doing.
Quinnipiac is great this year.
What's that?
Quinnipiac is great this year, and Net brought a 2-16 Fordham team to 500 team last year.
Yeah,
So,
but now they're 13-3 without him. I don't think
because
anyone misses.
The guy
the
who
coach
took his
underneath
reins
him, right?
is Keith Ergo, who was on our roster, who was on our staff for years and was working with Neptune.
It was bad. That was bad.
Here's the thing, guys. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I keep going back to this, right? Like, we're not going to hire Rick Pitino. Like, we're Villanova. We're a 6,500 person Catholic school, like in a hamlet outside of Philadelphia. Like, just like, we have to be realistic as to who we're going to hire. Like, I get it.
Like,
winning 2 national championships, going to 4 Final Fours in the last 13 years is like, makes you think, well, maybe we're Kentucky. But we're not Kentucky. Like, it's just like, I just don't understand what the exact ask is here from that perspective. That's not how we've won in the past.
we do things very differently at Villanova, and I know if the team that you grew to love at Villanova was the last 6 or 7 years, then if you went out of the family to get another head coach, it's not going to be the same. And you could look at a team, you could get a team that's going to be 13-18 one year, and then you could get a team that's good one year, but you're not going to see the same stuff every year. So you either want it that way, or you could keep it in the family, and you know what you're going to expect. Like, you know what to expect every year out of what you're going to get coaching wise, players wise, how the team's going to play. So
I think a lot of the frustration comes from the fact that, like, I mean, it's not like Neptune has like super deep ties to the university. It's not like he's a John Shire where he played here or was an alumni. And I guess the question is, like, why should we be giving him like such a long leash? Like, he doesn't really have any. He doesn't really have a particularly strong resume. And I mean, there are other coaches. I know like what you're saying, and I totally hear it. Like, we're not Kentucky. We don't have the capital to go poach any coach in the country, but there are a lot more qualified coaches that I think like would have been worth probably at least running like a formal process instead of. And like, I know everyone here has like utmost respect for Jay Wright, but it doesn't necessarily always make sense for him to just pick his successor. Like, I think there should have been like other considerations. I think I don't think that's too crazy to say.
Nev's been in the program since 2009. So he's been here for 14 years. He's been 3 Final Fours.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
he does have ties to the program, and he's been here for a very long time.
Listen,
yeah.
Collin came for all the smoke.
I'm not hearing any of the disrespect. And let's get off the table right now. Jalen Brunson's an NBA All-Star. Maddie Siegrist is National Player of the Year. Had to let that be known.
Well, we can agree with both of those for sure, 100%. Anyone who disagrees with that is crazy. Look, I appreciate it. This conversation has to come up. We've heard too much of it. I've let it run because to some degree, I do appreciate Nova Junkie kind of coming up and even though he created a burner to do it, I do appreciate him coming up and actually like voicing that thought. It's obviously out there, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and gloss over the fact that it's out there. We've all had it in the mentions and whatever. But I am. That is what it is. We got Jalen Brunson up now too. I don't know if he needs an introduction, but Jalen Brunson, 2-time national champion. JB, what are your thoughts here?
So first, Colin, I love you. Second, I don't really have that much to say. I don't know what's been said. I've been in and out of the space, but I think most importantly, patience is needed. It's just going to be new. This is just when Coach Wright came here in 2001. It took time. Like, things aren't always going to be as easy as he made it to be these last couple of years. And so, obviously, Coach leaving so abruptly and so kind of out of the blue, like, kind of made things uneasy for a lot of people, including the players. So you got to cut them a lot of slack too. Like even the players that were coming and thinking they were coming to play for Coach right now, they're playing for a whole different coach. Like they can't just turn a switch on and on about who they're playing for. Like they have to grow a relationship with the guy. And a lot of the guys that Nep may have been there for the recruiting visits with some of those guys, but I mean they were coming to play for Coach Wright. So all I have to say is patience is needed. And we gotta let these guys grow and mature. And honestly, this might be the best thing for them to have this type of struggle. How they're gonna respond? Like when we were there, when I was there, everything was about how do you respond to situations. So if everything is being preached that I think is being preached, and everything is being said that I think should be and is being said, then we'll be all right. But at the same time, we can't overreact. We can't over. We've had it great for the last decade, 15 years or whatever. We've had it fantastic. Now we go over one little obstacle and that everyone's ready to jump ship.
Amen.
Let's just be who we are. Let's be solid. Let's just be fans from afar and let them do what they got to do and be on their side 110%.
So one thing. So JB, I mean, obviously, completely agree, and I don't think. And to be honest with you, people signing up on a Thursday night to listen to a Twitter space and try and get educated on Villanova basketball. I think a lot of people here are strong fans and express it in different ways. So I do think that there's an element of that, and I am fully on board. Like Neptune deserves a ton of patience. We've played 17 games total um, under him. Obviously, hasn't gone as well as we like, but I do feel like there's a couple of things that are worth kind of going out to. I do hear one refrain from fans a lot about the recruiting element of things. And obviously, A-Ray, you kind of came in at the beginning of Jay's era, when he was, although he had been to a couple tournaments, when he was a pretty unproven coach at that point in time. You guys had NIT runs, and I'm sure at the beginning of your era, there was a lot of yelling and screaming amongst the fan base too. Kind of, can you give us a little bit of what that looks like, the road from taking a new coach taking the reins to kind of becoming a big program? What is that? You were there. What does it look like?
I mean, it's difficult. Like I said earlier, it's a big learning experience. It's a lot to take in coming from high school. And it's a lot of emotions. Like I said, guys, we out there playing hard, don't want to lose games, and we out there fighting. So it's difficult to stay mentally ready, mentally with it. It's a lot of times you like want to give up and might feel like, oh, this is not right for me, but you just gotta stick through with the process, and that's one of the things with Villanova. They always teach that, and they instill that in you, in that process and that grind. And I think that's why we became successful. All Nova teams know how to grind.
On the recruiting front, what was kind of like the sell? What was the sell for you, right? Like Jay was kind of unproven at that point in time. What was the sell from a new coach to say, "Hey, come here and play for me"? What got you to trust in him?
Oh, that was easy. I spoke to Coach Wright a couple of times, and we've met, but it was just the family feeling, the family atmosphere. I don't know if you remember Coach Joe Jones. He was assistant coach at the time. He came all the way to the Bronx, and he came to the park that I used to play basketball in, and we was there in the middle of the Bronx, and we're talking and having fun, and that's when I knew. I was like, this guy came all the way to South Bronx to come chill with me. He really wanted me to come to this school. Like, they really want me to come here. And it was just a no-brainer for me. It was easy. I just felt like family from day one.
So Jalen and Collin, were either of you guys recruited by Kyle directly or indirectly?
He was at a
Yes.
few of my games.
Yeah, he came to a couple of my games in high school, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that, your experience with him. Obviously, you guys have deep relationships with him, and I know you guys go way back. So it's personal at this point to have someone say you should fire Kyle. But tell me about his recruiting pitch, how he is as a recruiter? Because that's one of the things that a lot of people have talked about is his skill in doing so. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I'll just say I've gotten recruited by all the coaches there. Like at some point, at some time on the road to going to Villanova, all the coaches came to see me or whatever. But for me as a player, I knew that I was going to play for Coach Wright. Like it was obviously no disrespect to any of the coaches, but the person who makes all the decisions, who determines everything, was Coach Wright. So Coach, like, obviously has those people on his side, and they do a lot of great things for them. But at the end of the day, the players have to be on board and be on the same page as their head coach, or they're going to be miserable, or they're not going to have fun, or they're not going to be fully bought in. So they have to find a way. The players and the coaching staff has to find a way to make sure they're all on the same page. So it doesn't matter, like the recruiting, all that stuff. Recruiting is 10 times different from when I got recruited. Like kids are getting paid now in high school. Like it's not the
Right.
same anymore.
Right.
It's not. That's probably why Coach got out. It's not the same anymore. So for me, it doesn't matter like about the assistant coaches and all that stuff. The head coach has to make sure that the player is comfortable with him.
For me, mine was a
Right.
little bit different. I didn't really I saw Nep a few times at a couple of my games, but it was really Ash and Bakes, and they were a big part of the reason why I was there. Ash was a Philly guy, and I knew that he had fought for me. I was on the phone with him sometimes till like 1 in the morning. He would call me after the games, and um, it was annoying at the time, but like A-Ray said, like that dude really wanted me to be a part of it, and obviously I went and met with Coach a couple times, and he was just really realistic with me. He preached the family aspect of it, told me that I was going to work, I was going to become a better man from being there, and he told me that I was going to be behind a bunch of guys that were older and that were going to help me grow and learn, and told me I was going to redshirt, and told me I might not play until my junior and senior year, but it was bigger than me, and it was about the team, and I wanted to be a part of it. But also, the thing that goes into it is Coach. A lot of those guys, like JB was saying, like they committed to Coach, and Nep's got to still prove himself, and that's why the recruiting classes look the way that they look right now. But like the more that you see that he's going to prove himself, and guys are going to love playing for him, that'll change. But I think for everybody, their story, the recruiting story, is a little bit different, and it's way different now. Like you could recruit somebody, and then he could leave the next year because he didn't like the way that it went, or he doesn't like something certain about it. So it's very different.
So I guess in the NIL and obviously the transfer portal era is, and I know you guys mentioned maybe that's one of the reasons why Jay kind of, Jay headed for the exits, but is one of the reasons that Jay said it very early on that Kyle had some great ideas around that. You see Friends of Nova coming in with Ash Howard and Randy Foy. Do you guys have any insight into that? That element of the recruiting, because obviously that's going to be a big factor going forward. And we have a lot of speakers queued up. I see all you guys. We're going to get you guys going in just a second. So I just had that one question around NIL and transfer portal.
Not too much right now. I know they were supposed to do a podcast with Curtis, so I was talking to him about it, and I was gonna find out a little bit more, but don't know too much.
Let them, if you could, let them know that we'd be happy to have them on our podcast too, and get whatever we can. And I'm sure every Villanova fan, if they can contribute, would like to hear more. So I'd love to talk to them, but I definitely want to have that happen. Whatever we can to do to support Nova. All right, let's go to some guest speakers. We got a ton. So I'm going to go through the requests. Let's get Ryan up here. Ryan Hartnett leads the student section. Always there, always front and center. Ryan, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Chris? What's up, A-Ray and CG? How you guys doing?
What up? What up? All right, having fun right now.
Hell yeah, man. This is an awesome space. So I appreciate you guys being here and let me share some thoughts. But I kind of want to get your guys' take on a question I had prepared earlier today. Allan, you kind of went through a similar kind of up and down season during your freshman and sophomore year with Villanova. And Collin, obviously you didn't have that when you, in your sophomore and junior years, obviously 2 or 3 game losing streaks. But obviously with a big game coming up
Spoiled.
tomorrow against DePaul, obviously, this is a big game. The Cats are coming off a 2 game losing streak. They won to avoid a third. What is the mindset that obviously, Collin, you played under Coach Knepp when he was an assistant? What's the message being relayed to the guys as they get ready to take on Butler tomorrow in the House of Horrors that is Hinkle Fieldhouse to finally get a win that can kind of prove themselves going and kind of kickstart an engine for the rest of the year? What's the mindset?
Go ahead, Collin.
It's really about playing Villanova basketball for 40 minutes. Like, we always say, like, we're not worried about the score, wins or losses. Like, obviously, you're going out there to win. Like, the players know that, but making sure that you're competing and giving your body up for your teammates, playing every possession, executing, doing all the little things. And normally when you do all that, you focus on all that stuff, the rest of it takes care of itself, and you'll find yourself playing better. You'll find your team playing better. So I think their message is going to be basically they're not changing anything. Like, you're going out there to play Villanova basketball for 40 minutes. That's what it's going to be.
CG, I
Amen to
got a
that.
question. Why is it so hard to play at Butler? Like, why does everybody say that? I've never
For
played at
real,
I never played at Butler.
Uh, for me, I don't know. We lost my freshman year, sophomore year we won, junior year we lost, and then senior year we lost, and last year we won. I think it's just like the environment. There's a lot of history in there, and bro, like everywhere, like this. No matter like if you play at Butler or not, everywhere you go, every team is fired up to play Villanova. Like that was always the biggest game. You had a target on your back, and Butler was always good too. Like they play a similar style of basketball. They have their own little thing, the Butler way, and it's all about how we say Villanova basketball, being a tougher team, being more physical. So they play a very similar style of basketball. And then you might catch them in an afternoon game where the sun's shining through in Hinkle Field House and their fans are going crazy. But yeah, they got us a few times when we were there. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just the
Yeah,
history. They get really fired up. But,
yeah, they steal some big wins in that gym every year.
yep.
All right. All right, let's go to. We're gonna bring up someone else. Let's go to. Man, we got a huge queue. Hey Ray, you seeing this?
Yeah,
10 people. All right, we're gonna go to Matt Grosso. Matt, what's up, man? Yeah, he's still connecting. Matt, you're good to go when you come off of mute. There you go.
Thanks, man. I got a question for Collin. Just, you mentioned your sophomore year earlier and the struggles, I guess, coming after losing a bunch of guys off that championship team. And I thought it was really similar going into this year with the losing the guys, having 2 kind of heralded freshmen, and also having a couple of fifth years. What did you guys do to kind of mitigate all those losses after the championship season?
We went through it. Practices were brutal. Film sessions were long. And the more that we played together, we didn't have a lot of injuries that year. We were kind of healthy, and we got to play together a lot in practice. And we had some really bad losses in the beginning of the year. Then we went on a couple of games where we won, and then we had a couple of losses towards the end of the year, and then we finished up and got smoked. But we relied on our seniors a lot. Eric and Phil, they were huge for us in terms of leadership. Um, and they made a lot of tough shots for us. But also we were young. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to in certain games and being the type of guy I was supposed to be. Jermaine was still learning. He was coming off the bench starting some games, and then we relied on younger guys. I think Sadiq was a freshman, So it's very similar to what's going on right now. But we had Coach Wright, and now Nep is in that position. He's learning on the fly as well. He's a second-year head coach, so he's got to get used to all of his guys playing. Like he's playing the younger guys and leaving them out on the floor to kind of play through mistakes sometimes. When my sophomore year, coach didn't really have that leash as much, and they're really thin on the bench right now. And Justin's hurt, so he doesn't have that leader, that go-to guy that he could kind of just put the ball in his hands and be like, all right, go make a play, whether it's scoring or just getting the best shot possible right now.
Do you think some of the fan bases, the disconnect between fan base expectations is kind of like the whiplash? Is like, hey, we were, 3 Final Fours in 7 years. Like, I know it's spoiled, right? Like, that's obvious. But 3 Final Fours in 6 years. Sorry, and then all of a sudden it's like 8 and 9, and some of it's just whiplash. Candidly, do you think some of it's that?
I think you just got to be patient. Like JB said, it's patience. Like you have a new coach, you have a guy who is supposed to be your leader who hasn't played at all this year. You're playing and relying on a bunch of younger guys, which is ultimately going to make them better down the road. But like you have to go through those growing pains, and I think he hit it on the head. Like you have to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. Guys got to get familiar with the coach. Like even all the coaches are in a new role. Like Nep's a new head coach at Villanova. George is associate head coach. Like all those coaches are in new positions, and they were all on the same level a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So like you got to adjust all that. The players are adjusting to it. Their new roles. It's part of it, but you just got to be patient with it. Like you can't expect like the UNC thing that happened last year. Like you can't expect a team with a new coach and a bunch of young guys to go to the Final Four just the year after they went the year before or something like that, because that's their program. Like these guys are going to learn, they're going to grow, they're going to go through it sometimes, but then they're going to get better because of it.
Yep. All right, let's go to a couple. Let's go to something. George Crane has been hanging out here for a while. So I feel bad for that. George, sorry for the delay. What are your thoughts? You come off of mute and you're good to go.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hey, first of all, thanks for setting this up tonight. Appreciate it. And Collin, thanks for joining. And first of all, hey, like most of you guys on here, I think I love this team, and I haven't given up, and I'm going to be as patient as I need to be because I've been there for forever. But
Shout out to you.
I think thanks. I think we know what Villanova basketball looks like. I think Nep is brought on for the reasons that have been mentioned. Keep the culture going, and the culture is Villanova basketball, and some of the things that we know are part of Villanova basketball that I think that I'm not seeing as much, and I don't know if I want to see if you guys are not seeing a couple of things that everybody says that's Villanova basketball. Two things in particular are bounce passing and jump stopping in the lane, and then bounce passing out or passing out to the wing or passing back out to the corner. But we don't seem to be taking those skills. Coach Wright or even Collin or the players when they speak say, we gotta. It's habits. It's practicing those habits every day in practice. You gotta create those habits, and those are two habits that we don't seem to be doing as much as we always did. And I know we have some young guys out there, but we seem to be losing a couple of those things, and those things are the things that were really part of our identity. And I guess I'm wondering if we're and maybe that's part of a guard thing when we need, when we lose someone like a Collin or some of our point guards. those are the guys that bring some of that. But are you guys seeing that we're losing some of those skills that are part of that culture or part of that, part of Villanova basketball? I guess that's more of an offensive thing, but I mean, I don't have too much squabbles with the defense, even though we have our moments. But we're not giving up all that many points. We're not getting crushed on the defense that much. But it's you don't put the ball in the basket. Hey, don't go in. But it's some of those little things that are habits that that kind of drive you crazy.
Yeah, I think that starts in practice. Like those guys work on it every day in practice. Now it's just they gotta translate it over to games, and that comes with decision making and getting in those situations and being comfortable to do it in a game. Obviously, the older guys have worked on it a lot, and um, I catch most of the games, but yeah, I think that's just going to start with practice and comfortability, and the younger guys got to get used to it and with those habits and concepts.
Yeah, it's just real. It's real cliche, man. You're gonna hear us say a lot of the same things because that's just the culture of the program.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for listening. This is a good therapy session, and hang in there, guys. We're going to do it. I hope Justin gets back soon. Hope he comes back, and I think he'll help us a lot if he can. Collin, thanks for coming on. Hey, Ray, good to hear you.
Appreciate you.
And
Thank you.
you guys are awesome.
Thanks, George. Really appreciate it. All right.
Hey guys, I got a question for you. I think one of the refrains that we've heard and we've seen, and I think honestly, like we've preached a little bit on the podcast too, is that, hey, let's try some of the younger guys, and we want to see some more minutes from some of the younger rotation as well too. But I'm sure as a fan base and a casual watcher, like there's stuff that we're missing there. So I'm curious, like what your guys' take is. What's the fan base missing that holds some of these freshmen back? That really shows that isn't necessarily the answer, or I guess could that be the answer?
I think we all definitely want to see the freshmen play. That's one of the big things with the fan base. But you also got to take into consideration, it's going to be more turnovers. And you're seeing that now. Freshmen are they're very aggressive, and it's a learning process for them. So you know, we got to take the good with the bad, and I think that's what Nova Nation got to understand, especially with those guys. We gotta take the good with the bad. They're still learning.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like we haven't been a while since we've like really relied on freshmen, and you're seeing it this year. Like there's going to be lapses in the defense or the rotations because of communication and playing together. Then there's going to be turnovers on offense, bad shots because these guys are used to being the guys in high school, getting whatever shots they want, being the best players on the floor, and the game's more physical, it's faster, so they're not getting the same looks, and it's going to be a lot tougher to score, especially with the spacing and the paint. So, I mean, you could throw the younger guys in there, but you got to take the good with the bad. Like A-Ray said, like there's going to be struggles, and um, you really can rely on your older guys because you know what to expect and you know what they're gonna do out there.
We have Joseph coming up ready to speak. I'll get him on in 1 second. I do have one question defensively. So there are moments where we do have really good defensive possessions, and then we don't grab that rebound, or if it's not as much, we get our hands on the ball and fumble out of bounds, whatever it may be. It's like closing the possession with a board. What is there something in practice that you guys did or do to do that? Obviously, we preach. It's very clear from outside looking in that it's preached to like go after the boards as a guard, like team rebounding, because oftentimes we are undersized and have been. That's been the staple of the program for 20 years. So I'm curious about that. Like, how do we close those possessions down where we do actually have a successful defensive possession?
I mean, it just comes down to experience. again, it's cliche. You can see in the games like our problem is we'll play good defense and it come down to a key moment, and that's when we decide to like make the mistake, not communicate. It'll be a key moment. We'll be up. We got the momentum, and we'll have a miscommunication, no switch, and the team will get a wide open three. Like you can't teach that in practice. That's something you got to learn in the game, and that just comes with like feel and maturity. Like it just happens all the time with us. Like that's one of the biggest things I see. In the key moments, we just make the biggest mistakes. We play good during the game, but the key moments we don't communicate, and I just think that's the hump that we have to get over.
Yeah. All right. We're going to lose Collin in just a second, but Joseph, you're up, man. What's up?
Yeah, so my question is pretty much about recruiting, and I know I recognize a lot of people in here. I know this season is what it is. I mean, look at Kentucky. In my opinion, they're the bluest, the blue bloods. They've had a bad year a couple of years ago, and they look like they're going to lose probably double-digit games again this year, maybe a 500 record. So it is what it is for us. But my question is on the recruiting front, NIL. When Jay Wright first started, there was no such thing as NIL. Sure, you had teams like Louisville, Kentucky, that were dropping off suitcases of cash in hotel locker rooms, and it is what it is. But in today's day and age, you see teams like Kansas State, Missouri, Alabama, Tennessee, who have never won anything, and have coaches who have never won anything, pulling in five-star recruits right and left. We can't feasibly compete with them NIL money-wise. They pump out alumni by the volume compared to us. So going forward, like what is the recruiting landscape looking for us when a lot of recruits are looking for the best NIL package and they're not really looking at the pedigree of the school? When Jay Wright first took over, we were still top 10 all time in Elite Eights, tournament appearances, things like that. We had a national title. And today we're sixth all time in tournament appearances, you know, top 10 Elite Eights, all of that kind of stuff, Sweet 16s, you name it. But recruits aren't looking at that today. They're looking at what can you get NIL. Same with transfers. That's what they're looking for. You see them committing to Miami and the schools I mentioned. So where do we go from here when we can't compete with even schools like Penn State, Ohio State? USC has unlimited money. Like, what do we do?
5 stars aren't always the answer. I mean,
I
like
agree.
you're gonna get guys that want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and that's always been the Villanova culture. Like you got to find guys that fit your mold in your program, and it's always been that way. Coach Wright always talked about it. There was a span where he got a bunch of 5 star recruits, and they thought they were doing the right thing. And I think I don't know, it was a bad season that happened because of it. So it's not always the answer to get 5 star guys. You got to find guys to fit your program, fit your mold and your culture, and what you want to be, and they got to be willing to just be a part of something bigger than themselves. So I think you got to look at their character, where they come from, their family, and get to really know the kids, and the kids got to want to be a part of it. Like you're not just going to get a kid who wants to be a one and done because he's wants to be a one and done. He's got to be able to buy in and be a part of something bigger than himself, and that's where Villanova's always gotten the right guys.
And Colin, I'm in the same framework as you. I'm from the same area as you, same high schools. The point is, you see a lot of schools today that they don't have that kind of culture. They don't have that kind of coaching, but they're still pulling in high 4 stars, 5 stars, and they immediately went from basement dwellers to ranked teams consistently year after year. And that's only because they have the money to pull in recruits. Now, when you bring in big time recruiting classes, PayPal Cal aside, because I don't think he's that good of a coach, he just always had the money at Kentucky. But the point is, you have a lot of schools, and Missouri and Kansas State I mentioned because they're forever ranked lately, despite the fact that their coaching is average and they have zero history. But they're bringing 5 stars and 4 stars in right and left now because they're paying them. Look at Anthony Black. He was going to commit to Gonzaga. Arkansas offered him more money. So he forewent the development he would have got from Mark Few to go and play at Arkansas. So you have a lot of players who are definitely favoring money and deals today over development. So my question is us, like we can't even compete with Penn State money-wise, Ohio State, USC. We can't compete with Syracuse, any of these schools money-wise. They're just much bigger. So from here on out, if recruits are favoring money, and I know Congress is trying to revamp NIL, but it's government that can take forever. So until that actually happens, like what do we do from here on out when you have really small schools, that might have a lot of money or they might have rich donors that can pay players off to get them? Like how do we compete with that? Like let's be honest.
We have championships and Final Fours. That's got to be your pitch. Like college was always about like going and get your degree and then going to the pros and yada yada yada. And I know kids want money now, but like, do you want those kids to come be a part of the program? Like
But
that's not who we are.
I agree. Championships and Final
Just
Fours have to be our pitch, but look at
so,
Kansas State, Missouri, and those teams. They have nothing.
yeah.
But how long are they
So,
gonna be good
well,
for?
just sorry. Let me just interrupt real quick. Just because I know Colin, I know you pinged me and you got to go. So I don't want to hold you up. I know you got dinner with your team, and we really, really appreciate as a fan base you coming in because you got dinner going on. You guys are on the road. You got a Denver Nuggets team that you got to work with. So I really appreciate it. So Colin, I'm giving you the exit ramp if you got to run. So I just want to. I'm not. It's a good conversation, and I appreciate Joseph's question, but I just want to give you the moment to exit.
Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, I love all you guys. I love Nova fans. Just be patient. Stick with the team. Stick with NEP. It's early. Just give them some time. Give the guys some time. They're gonna gel. They're gonna learn. They're gonna grow. But still, to answer your question, it's gonna be about like the players that you get. You don't see young teams winning college basketball. You're not gonna win tournaments with young guys. Like you need older guys who have experience to get to Final Fours to win championships, and it's been that way for the last couple of years now. Um, so you want the right guys and the right people to be in your program, and it's not always about getting the highest guy, highest recruit, or the guy that wants the most money. So just keep that in mind. Stay patient. Patience is a virtue. Stick with NEP, stick with the team, and continue to be fans, but be respectful and treat these guys with respect. They're working hard and they're trying everything that they can. They're giving you guys everything that they can. So just stick with them.
CG the
Colin,
GOAT.
appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. A Ray, you're a real one.
Holla at your boy.
All right, bro.
All right. Thanks, Colin. All right, we're still running here. A Ray, how much time you got?
Got about 20 more minutes.
You got 20 more minutes. All right, Joseph. Sorry, I wanted to get back. A Ray, I'm curious to get your your thoughts kind of on Joseph's question around NIL and the money aspect. I do think that's a thing,
No,
right?
no,
Like
for sure. I mean, it's not only a Villanova problem, but it's a problem for a lot of teams in college basketball. That's how I look at it. And we definitely have to figure it out in that aspect. And I just hope Neil doesn't turn college basketball into like how it is in college football, where all the teams with the most money got the best teams, the best players, and everybody else is just not on their level. That just wouldn't be good for college basketball. But I do agree with you with the NIL. It is something that we do have to consider and really get on the ball with.
Yeah, I think that just to kind of close this one off, I think Colin answered it pretty well, and I think it's something we need to keep in mind that Villanova hasn't built its program off of the backs of 5-star recruits. We didn't build our success the way Kentucky did in the past decade plus, or the way Duke did in the past decade plus. Like we've had guys who are 4 stars, who are mid-tier 4 stars, who are 3 stars, who have like Collin was a 3 star, and like you sprinkle in a selective 5 star every now and then who's special and can kind of take your program to the next level there. But it's about all those pieces coming together, and it's about that growth. It's not necessarily about just bringing in all the 5 stars. So should you ignore NIL? Absolutely not. Like you need to be aware of it. You need to have a plan for it. But thinking that that's going to be the end of our program, I think just kind of overlooks what happens in the past decade and just paints a very modern picture on things.
Awesome. All right, let's get another couple questions up here. We've had Simone looking to speak for a bit. Simone, you're up. You can come off of mute. Bottom left.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are
What's
you?
up?
Yeah, hey, thanks for taking my question. I had some stuff I was looking at the other night when Allan Ray was tweeting, and I was kind of looking at how the commentators always hone in on these like, oh, Villanova, such a low turnover team stat over and over and over again. And I think the most concerning thing that I see is that even though we turn the ball over low, it's probably per 100 possession relatively high, all things considered. And then when you look at it, the defensive turnovers forced is still at like 11. And I think, versus 10 offensive. And I think like one of the things that I've gotten so used to is guys like Slater and Bridges, coming out and making big defensive bids on the ball with the support knowing that what they got behind them exists. We talked a lot about like how you can build that in practice, but I feel like we got to get these young kids going sort of more aggressive on defense, not just participating in all the correct areas, but really going for the ball, knowing that they got the experience like Dixon, Daniels, Slater behind them to kind of support and switch where they need to if they make a mistake. So like, I feel like we got to start really getting the kids moving, more aggressive to the ball. And like, how do you feel like that's going to happen throughout the year, or how can we encourage that more?
That's just gonna come with repetition and practice every day. Just continuing to go over the defensive game plan. I remember vividly Coach Wright. We used to have real intense defensive practices all the time. We would actually score points on defense. Those are the type of drills that we would do. We would never we would get points on offense, but it would come off of the defense. So that takes time, and like I said, coming from high school and going into college is different. In high school, you're the best player. You can do whatever you want on the court. You can guard anybody because you're more physically gifted than them. And then coming into college, you playing against somebody just as big as you, or just as fast as you, or if not bigger and faster. So it's an adjustment to learn, and the basketball IQ is higher. Guys are smarter than high school, so it's a lot to take in. But that's just gonna come with repetition and the will of like wanting to actually learn. So we just gotta sit back and wait and see if they pick that up.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm really excited to see guys like Cam and Mark Armstrong really start to get after the ball more aggressively on defense. So I'm really interested in that, and I just wanted to shout out all you, just like thanks for this. This was great, and also just wanted to say to some of the Villanova fans to be a little bit more respectful of other team programs. Programs like Arkansas, they got good coaches now, so don't be haters out here.
Yeah. All right, Simone. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on. All right, we're gonna get let's see, Cam Whitmore, Campus Corner, on here, with the beautifully signed hat. What's up, man? Or
Yo,
yeah,
hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you great.
Sure
Man,
can.
thanks for putting this together. Actually, if you look at the top left corner, I met A Ray. What's up, man? I'm 30 years old. I remember meeting you during one of the summer open practices. I got your hat signed by you, Marcus Austin, Foy, Jay Wright, Lowry. I'm long time, man, but I'm a millennial. And I wanted to bring up, I was thinking about what am I going to say today? And I could have brought up, NIL, which is a great point, people transferring like Breezy and what's that's going to lead down the program. But I actually wanted to go more general about social media because I follow all you. You guys do an amazing job between the Full40 and the YouTube and the podcast and the pregame with everybody. I saw someone tweet the other day, I don't know if it was from the Yukon Nation or somebody, but that this is the first time in the age of social media where, back when Steve Lapis was there or our down season in 11 and 12 or, between right before '06, we didn't have Twitter. We didn't really have all the social media and everyone giving their opinion every 3 seconds. Now, no matter where you go, because of the analytics, and I'm in tech, right? When you refresh your page, you're seeing everything about what you follow. and then what's related to that. So you're seeing all the bad stuff about Villanova, all the good stuff about UConn, all the bad stuff about Kentucky, all the great stuff about you name it. And that puts a big toll on the fan base and these players who, these are kids. These kids are 18, 19, 20 years old. I want to get your opinion on how do we come together so to, like, when we go to the Wells Fargo, man, I don't want to see 5,000 people there. And again, I know we're not going to see 20,000 people there like a Virginia game where DiVincenzo rolls up in the last second and does a left-hand layup to win the game. But where do you see the impact of social media right now from a negative standpoint on the players and as a fan base? Because again, what that person said was these are. I mean, look at that burner account. Like, get a life. That could have been Mr. One of hot balls free. I hope T God's burner goes after him. But my point is, how do we leverage social media together to maybe teach some of the younger fans that maybe only started watching Nova basketball in 14, 15, and they aren't older like the rest of us, or just maybe got into it and are older, to really bond together in a time of need like this therapy session where we have over 300 people listening. So be proud of yourselves, gentlemen and ladies.
I think that's a great point with social media, and I think one of the biggest things is like bragging rights. Like we losing, we don't have those bragging rights. We seeing all everybody else. Cause I agree with you. I open my Twitter and I follow NCAA basketball. I see teams everywhere, and they're like social media presence, which is crazy because it wasn't like this maybe like 2 years ago. And that's a real great point that you bring up, and that can cause some morale with the fans. And then in the comments, you could come in the comments and say what you want. There's a whole bunch of ideas floating around there, so it's just it's just like a toxic cesspool kind of sometimes, and that's why I always try to keep things positive because you're going to see a whole bunch of negative stuff on Twitter all the time. And whether you believe it or not, these players, I'm pretty sure that they look at my Twitter, so I don't want them like coming on there all the time and seeing like a whole bunch of negative stuff. And that's like my big thing because I know that can affect them. I didn't have to go through this because I didn't have Twitter, thank God, because who knows what was being said about us and the team and me. So I didn't have to deal with this. So this is also another like added pressure with these guys. Social media is real big, and trust me, they're on social
Yeah,
media and they see that. That's a
I,
great point.
I think social media. I see it a lot in football too. Like, so especially in the recruiting where someone will post, "I'm making my decision in this amount of days," or between these three schools, and then you'll just the second someone posts those schools, you will just see thousands of comments saying everyone thinks they're a everyone now can believe that they are a recruiter.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but yeah, that's really and I mean, I was actually I mean, maybe this will lead to a bigger discussion, maybe not. I mean, I know we want to talk about the X's and O's and all that, but that's really all I had. I just want to, I mean, thank you. I thought this was actually yesterday. Full40 knows that, but it gave me extra time to go and get a box of wine. And T God's burner just followed me back, so my life is made. So I'm gonna go on mute and thank you guys. I love you guys, and man, tune in tomorrow for Friday Night Lights because we back. We never left.
I feel you.
I
I
love it.
love the energy, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh, and thanks for signing my hat when I was like, I don't even know how years old, but I still got that thing, and I'm never leaving it.
That's what's up. I'll sign anything else too, man. Just let me know. Hit me up in the
Oh,
DM.
that would. My birthday's coming up. My birthday, February 11th. You know, I'll be there at Wells Fargo, man, right front and center. So, shit, if you're there, I will bring everything.
All right.
I love it. All right, we're gonna keep the requests coming. A Ray, I'm conscious of your time.
All right.
I know you got about 5 minutes left, so we're gonna get one more. We're gonna one more question up here.
Yeah, let's do one more. Let's do
Alex,
one more.
yeah, Alex Heatherman. What's up, Alex? You there?
Hey guys, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
so
hear you.
A-Ray, I kind of had a question for you. Obviously, with you being there at the beginning of Coach Wright and stuff, and I feel like this would be a great thing for the team this year. Obviously, if you follow Villanova basketball and you know them, they're big on attitude, and a lot of other programs, you don't see that anything like that from any other program. So my question is to you: I know Neptune still does it. How did Coach Wright kind of preach it to you guys day in and day out? And obviously, since you're at the beginning, how did he kind of get you guys to buy into it? And now it's just led on to every other team, and that's something that separates us from other programs, and something that I think we really need even more this year.
Um, Good question. I think it starts off the court. I think the whole thing with Villanova is they teach us to be stand up men off the court first, and I think that translates on the court. Um, Being with Coach Wright, especially in the beginning, it was difficult, but it's having that trust, and that's also a part of attitude. Trusting in the coach, trusting in yourself, trusting in your teammates, and that's what we really pride ourselves on at that program, and you still see it today. There's no doubt. We all watch the games. There's no doubt we can sit here and all agree that the team plays hard. We can't say that they don't play hard. They make their mistakes, but the effort is not an issue, and that also comes down to attitude as well. So like you see with the program, you see that we still have some of our staples there with the attitude, and you know it's not a time to panic, even though we're not where we want to be. But like I said, we just gotta have patience and just trust the process. Just trust the process. Everybody gotta really trust in each other. That was the big thing with my class and being with Coach Wright was just all of us getting to trust each other.
Thank you very much for getting my question, and thank you guys for putting this together.
Yeah, Alex, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right. We are going to continue here, but at this juncture, I know A-Ray, you gotta run. So I just want to I want to let everyone have an opportunity to thank you. I'm going to do it on behalf of everyone in Nova Nation, but if you guys can to applaud him, etc. A-Rays did a professional career overseas after 2,000 plus points at Nova. Professional career that worked on was on the Celtics for a little bit and then had a great career overseas and then came back. He's a loyal alum. He tweets with us. He's with us all the time. It's really a testament to him more than anything else, and how much of a devout Villanovan and Wildcat that he is. So I just want to say thank you to A-Ray, and look forward to everyone looks forward to interacting with you more soon.
Yes, definitely, man. I appreciate all you guys. Today was really great. I think we really needed this. It just shows our cohesiveness in this community. We got a real strong Nova community, and like I said, let's just be one of the best communities on social media. Let's not be like everybody else or hateful all the time. I understand everybody has feelings. Everybody deals with feelings differently. Trust me, I'm open-minded about that, and I understand. But just let's not be so emotional all the time, and let's ride out for our boys.
I love it. Thanks, A-Ray. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
For those for as A-Ray leaves, we're still running. We're still going to go. We're going to talk to you guys as late as we possibly can. I'm willing to stay up as long as possible. So we still got some speakers in the hopper, so to speak. I understand some of you might want to run, and this space will be recorded, so we can listen later. But we're going to keep it running here. So request, ask to speak, whatever you guys want to talk about, we're going to keep talking about it right now. So with that being said, I am going to bring up JF from NJ, who has been patiently waiting to speak for a long time and probably had a question for one of the other two. But what's up, man? Joe, what's
Chris,
up?
is it you? Hey,
Yeah,
what's
it's
up?
me.
What's
What's
going
up?
on, dude? Hey. So I'm gonna tweak my question a little bit because I was kind of fishing for something from A-Ray, but it's all right. He's so responsive and so awesome. I'm sure I can ask him another time. Honestly, if there was anyone that honestly we should feel pretty blessed that he's like as interactive as he is. It's like kind of like weird private access that no one else gets. All right, so my first question, and this is probably more for the broader full 40. I don't know if Willie's on here because I know he's more of the technical guy, but you guys let me know what you think. So one of the things that kind of really frustrates me with these games is we fall in these stretches where just like 3-point chucking, and it's like it's every. I feel like we have a team, with the exception of maybe Housen, where the 3-point shot is like the second or third part of their game, and yet like we're like kind of forcing it, making it the primary focus of the game, whether it be Dixon, whether it be Daniels, whether it be Slater, and it's like if you could curtail that, what would you ask them to do first? Like, what would you rather them do than take 3-point shot? And then we'll just boil it down to like the overall offense. Like, what would you love to see them do before they just settle for a three? Because I feel like all these guys shoot like a token like 32, 34%, and it's just like it drives me bonkers. Like I just think it's like they're forcing something that's just not their natural like strength. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because you look at the actual components of the roster and you look at their 3-point shooting percentages in the past, and you think, well, Dixon should be able to knock down a bunch of threes. Caleb, we've seen knock down a bunch of threes. Slater had a year where he had 40% from deep. Then you got Cam and whoever, and you say, well, hey, look, if you guys got an open three, shoot it. I think some of the issues, though, is, we used to talk about this a lot, is getting the pass to the good, better, best shot possible. It's like shot quality. I haven't looked at the shot quality statistics in a bit, but I would like to know kind of where our shot quality stands. But if you look at free throw percentage and 2-point percentage, this team shoots the ball well from 2-pointers, which would, in a lot of cases, speak to the fact that the team can shoot the ball on one hand. B, on the other hand, maybe the team should emphasize a little bit more on the 2-point side, just because that's what the analytics say. Hey, this team is an above average 2-point shooting team. Maybe focus a little bit there more. And in addition to all of that, Dixon is so skilled underneath that you'd like to see him get more shots off down low. I'm with you. I don't want to get rid of, so to speak, the 3-point shot. I know that's not what you're saying, but I would. It is interesting. I would love to see kind of a little bit more on the shot quality side, kind of what that says.
For sure. Okay, and then my second one's more of a fun one. I already told you, when I know you guys like whiskey, so I started off with an Old Forester single barrel and transitioned to a Booker's batch 2 of 2022. I want to know what you guys are drinking. And then
I just polished off a bottle of Four Roses small batch, but that's a really kind of like it used to be like 5 years ago, like not as big a deal, but now it's now it's pretty popular.
Cool. All right, thanks guys, appreciate it. Bye.
All right, we have another special guest, Dwayne Anderson, coach on the team, assistant coach on the team, is with us. Dwayne graduated with Rob and I. Coach, I appreciate you joining. You there? You're on. It says you're not on mute. Oh, he dropped. Okay. It seems like that might have been by accident. All right. So we'll keep it running. Hey, Joe, thanks a lot for your question. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We got Patrick coming up now. Patrick, what's up? Patrick,
yeah,
you
I'm
there?
here. Sorry, disconnected for a second. Wasn't sure if I was good to talk. Honestly, my big thing with for A-Ray and Collin was just to thank them. Like, what other fan base has two of their like legends in a space with 200 Villanovans? Like, he's 100% right, Collin, when he says we're spoiled. But yeah, the who was it? Was that JF from NJ? I think he just talked about you guys got to get back on your horse with what are you drinking at the beginning of the pod. I'm telling you, it's just been bad luck.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was trying to do like a half-hearted dry January. That ended during the Xavier
Get
game.
like I don't know, get like
yeah,
non-alcoholic drinks. Then
I
there's
know.
stuff like water.
No, come on. I got to. You can't.
No, I'm
Look,
messing with you. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
here,
But I mean, like, what is
here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I'm not just saying it because he's in the space. If you're looking for a drink made by a Villanova grad, there's only two ways to go. One is if you're looking for non-alcoholic, Sanzo sparkling water, which I highly recommend. He didn't pay me to say that. And then two, Montauk Brewery. So Montauk Brewery beer is also a Villanova grad. Um, so that's a good way to go. That's good
I
luck.
didn't
That'll
know
bring you good
Talk was
juju
Villanova.
for. That'll bring you good juju. So Santo sparkling water. He'll probably yell at me. You get it at Whole Foods. You get it a bunch of different places. He's all over the place. So I'm pumping him right now. All right. Let's Patrick. What else you got, man? Anything else?
I was gonna actually talk about. We've been talking a lot about now and bad things, and like it makes sense. We got a vent, but did you see Jordan Dumont was nominated for McDonald's All American in the Southeast? So good things are coming. He looks good. I actually wanted to ask A Ray what he thought of him because I think he was able to get to one of his games and see him play. But I don't know. Have you been able to see anything about him? Hear anything about him?
So I've seen some highlight reels, which obviously highlight reels are what they are when you're talking about recruits. It's they're extremely biased, and oh, you saw a player run down the court and shoot a 3-pointer. Wow, that's
Yeah, I
great.
can see one based on the highlight reel.
but like at the same time, I'm interested to see what he did. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that he did spend some time overseas. Sometimes those guys' recruiting rankings come in a little bit later. I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure that's the case, though.
I think in Canada.
Um, yeah. So I'm interested to see what all shakes out with him. I mean, look, this team needs size, 6'8". So I love seeing that, and he seems to be able to score at three levels based on those recruiting videos, which I obviously have acknowledged can be a little bit biased. But I like the fact that we're getting a guy with size. This team next year is going to lose Slater. Um, Caleb Daniels is obviously a sizable guard. Cam Whitmore, you'd expect, would go in the draft given his expected draft position, and I think that's a good thing. And so and who knows what decision Justin Moore will make at the end of the year, but the team's going to lose some size and athleticism, and obviously you have guys like Jordan Longino. You have Eric Dixon still coming back into the fold. You have Nana Njoku. You have Trey Patterson. You still have that, but this team has cleaned up in recent years with that wing type position. Both their ability to rebound, defend, be long and athletic, and that's been a difference maker. And Dumont seems to have those qualities based on what I can see. So I'm looking forward to him coming and joining Villanova.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow up with that size question. You just talked about 6'8", and I heard on your last pod how you talked about you got to see Trey Patterson in person for the first time. What do you think of his minutes this last game? I thought he put in some good minutes against DePaul. Just wanted to see what you thought.
Yeah, look. We always talk about next man up. Obviously, the result of the game wasn't what we had hoped for, but the reality of the situation is sometimes getting guys minutes during injuries kind of help a team long term. So whereas Trey was kind of back behind Jordan Longino in the depth chart. Now he's kind of moved up a little bit, sees an increased role, has increased opportunities during games. I think that's great. I think he's given us some good minutes at times. I think there's definitely, you see some of the qualities of a younger player in the program. I think even though he's been with the program for a couple of years at times, but look, it's not going to hurt him to continue getting opportunities. So, and it's not going to hurt us long term to continue seeing younger guys get more opportunities. So, I love seeing it, and I would encourage him to be confident. I don't know what the coaching staff is telling him directly, but if he gets open looks, I'd like to see him shoot him. I go back to the Georgetown game. He had an open look from the 3-point line. Guy closed out quickly. He got an up fake, drew a foul, hit both free throws. Like, that's exactly the type of offense that Villanova fans have become accustomed to watching. And if he can continue to make smart plays like that, he's going to earn more minutes.
Yeah, and kind of parting note here. Perfect. Agree with everything you said on Trey, and just thank you guys for setting this up for the fans, giving us a platform to talk to those legends, and also just stay like 30 feet away from cheesesteaks in the future during games, because I know that was a good review, but you should have just like stayed away. Bad juju.
Yeah, that's fair, and actually, it's a good transition to Tommy. Patrick, I appreciate your time here. Thanks a lot for joining up with us.
Of course, thank you.
So Tommy's in the space. He's been patiently waiting the entire time. Tommy Godin from Road to the Garden and VU Hoops. Um, but but Tommy, he has a point. Like I would probably was too close of a vicinity of that cheesesteak the other night.
Yeah, I take full credit for that one. That's on me. I shouldn't have made you eat the cheesesteak, but well, you didn't even technically eat it, but that's what the fans voted for on the Twitter poll. So I'm a man of the people, but this Twitter space has been great. I've been in here the whole time, just kind of vibing. There's so many legends in here, and this has been awesome.
Thanks, Tommy. Tell me any of your thoughts. I'm curious. You obviously report on the team. You've interviewed the coach. You've interviewed several players in your role. Kind of what are some of the thoughts? Any new things that you thought came up today? Any other? I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, man. I love what Collin said about just staying the course. And I mean, this is the same fan base that wanted Jay fired, like as recently as 2012, and stuff was never going to be rainbows and butterflies transitioning from a legend like Jay to Kyle Neptune. I think Kyle's done a good job. I think he's going to continue doing a good job. He just needs time. He just needs time to develop, just like the players do in this new to them system. They just got to stay the course. Like everyone's doing the best that they can. There's no breaking news. I know, like that would be fun to break on the spaces, but there's nothing new. I mean, the goal remains the same. This attitude thing, it's not just letters on a wristband for these players. Like it's the most important game is the next game for these guys, and they're just going to stay the course. So we as a fan base should do the same.
I hear you. All right, thanks, Tommy. Stay on with us. All right.
Okay.
We're gonna bring up Trevor. So I'm gonna get him up for a question. I also see some other content creators. I'm gonna start inviting them up as well. So I want to get some of these guys up. But Trevor, what's up, man?
Could you call me a content creator?
No, I wish you were. I wish you were, but you're too
Yeah.
busy. You're too busy.
I saw a good window to segue into something I was kind of thinking about. But first of all, I just want to reiterate how absolutely preposterous, like just otherworldly spoiled we've been in the last 10 years. Like it's honestly ridiculous the run that the dynasty that was created and that we all got to enjoy. So it's just like this is not normal in college basketball. This is not what most teams expect year after year. Kentucky's having problems. Duke had issues. UNC like stumbled its way into a national championship appearance last year in their changing of the guard. Um, it's not normal when I'm saying the sustained success that we enjoyed for so long, and that's just kind of something that me and my friends always reiterate to each other in our uh, group chats and things like that. So just reiterating the whole patience thing, and Rome wasn't built in a day, and new system for Kyle to be kind of implementing, or new personnel for him to try to implement into the similar system that he's kind of trying to carry over. And again, the attitude thing is so paramount for everybody. They say it every time they break the huddle, and it's not just the way they break the huddle, it's how everything's done. I just think again, like we got to kind of check ourselves. Someone talked about earlier about the toxicity on the social media. It's just like when that first person came up, I wanted to, say some things. But Collin kind of did a good job of checking him. But it's just reminder to everybody to be patient, and then kind of going off of that, like we got a game tomorrow. Butler pretty much plays 6.5 guys. Like, what are you? I don't know if there was a preview on the last pod about it, but I just kind of wanted to get everybody's thoughts on what we can expect tomorrow besides like Hinkle.
Well, I gotta pause there for a second because you've teed up a person who's requested and has been requesting for some time, and this guy is a Butler fan.
Oh,
He's been listening for a little bit of time. So I'm bringing up Yuli Dog. Yuli Dog, you've been listening for some time. You're a Butler fan. Are you just trying to get like insider info here? Like, what you doing? You there? Can you hear me? Oh, this is a bust if he doesn't speak. Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
people are saying
Yuli,
coward. Yeah.
Yuli, I'm leaving you on if in case your phone starts to work. But the look at Joey Orr just thumbs downing like left and right. Um, but he look Butler continues to do kind of what they do. There's some talent on the roster. The Manny Bates transfer in particular down low. That guy has changed a lot for them. He has really provided a very strong, sturdy inside presence. Um, he's been really good for them. So that's definitely something to look out for. Also, a story for them is new coach, but not a lot of turnover. Simas Lukosius came back. He's still ripping threes from like 30 feet. Um, they have a lot of the same pieces on that roster. That's all a little bit older. They've had some success in the preseason in the early go of it in the Big East. They've had a couple road games that haven't gone so well. They had UConn come to visit them, which they've struggled with. Who they struggled with, but it's the Butler team's game, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're on the cusp of this game is actually a cusp Q1 Q2 game for us since it's on the road. So I mean, look, we're 8-9. Things could get worse. They could get better. This is definitely an opportunity for Villanova. But Butler's not going to go down quietly, and especially not at Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just seeing the numbers. That guy's blocked like 40 shots this year, and yeah, they're coming off a couple tough ones. But I watched them a little bit when they played Creighton, probably on around New Year's, and I remember thinking, okay, Creighton's a bunch of frauds, but because they played well, but then they end up pulling away at the end of the half. But I don't know. I think the toxicity kind of peaked with DePaul, and I hope that we can just kind of get back to our normal ways of just kind of taking care of business tomorrow. I think it'll be tough without Jordan, but you never know.
Yeah, I think we missed Jordan in the last game. I think his defensive prowess, his ability to hit the mid range jumper, does create some opportunities, and the fact that he's also our 6th, 7th guy is pretty nice luxury just in terms of depth of the team. So I definitely think we're missing him. All right, I'm going to bring Joseph is back up with another question. Joseph, what's up? You got another question? You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
so my second question now is a lot of people that we've heard are saying that Nova should possibly play faster with much more of a pace than they have in years past under Jay Wright.
Hello?
But my question is, with the personnel that we have right now, Mark Armstrong, he's turning the ball, he's a freshman, so he's turning the ball over a lot. Cam Whitmore has had several games with 4, 5 turnovers. He's turning it over a lot, despite the fact we're playing slow. Caleb Daniels, Brandon Slater, they're turning it over 4 or 5 times a game in several instances. So my question is, if our elder statesmen are turning it over so much, and I mean, you can count some of those horrible shots as turnovers if you want, because Daniels had several of them at the last, couple of games. But if you want to just go off turnovers, We have guys turning it over 4, 5, 6 times a game. So if we play faster, wouldn't it be logic? I mean, it's statistical logic that they would turn it over even more. We're average, the past few years with Gillespie and Brunson and whatnot, we're turning it over 7, 8 times a game at most. Right now, we have several games this year with, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 turnovers. It is what it is. You have freshmen playing. But Whitmore and Armstrong are turning it over a lot. So if you play faster, I mean, it just makes sense that they're going to turn it over even more. So wouldn't playing how we are right now at a slower pace benefit them, at least until they had more experience?
Yeah, I think. Look, I think you raise a good point. The playing slower and more deliberate. It does give you less possessions, which means less possessions to cough it up. It also means less opportunities to get the ball through the basket. And if you're not as good a shooting team as you've been in the past, you're not as efficient offensively, playing slow and also not being the best offensive team can turn you into like what Virginia was a few years ago, right? Like that's you can turn into that. It can get really ugly from an offensive standpoint. But the but on the other hand, though, you're going to cough the ball up. You're going to make way more mistakes. You're going to take way worse shots if you really gas it up. I think there's a middle ground here. Like we were playing like the 350th slowest tempo in the country. I
Right.
think there's probably a middle ground of like 250 where you're playing a little bit quicker and you're maybe exposing some more transition opportunities when you get going. You get Slater and Whitmore and Mark going downhill where those shots aren't bad shots. But I do agree that like early in possession, clanked out 3-pointers that lead to runouts is essentially a turnover. I agree with that point wholeheartedly.
Right. And I'll say, wholeheartedly that I don't necessarily buy into Ken Palm because I know there's a lot of cooked in stats early on where you might have one or two bad games and that, screws your analytics for the rest of the year. Look at Providence last year. I mean, it is what it is. But the point is, you have guys that are like Daniels and Slater who have 5 years of experience. They're still turning it over 4 or 5 times a game. There's something going wrong. And then you have a top 5 draft pick in Whitmore turning it over 4 or 5 times a game. There's something going on. And Armstrong, our point guard of the future, turning it over 2, 3, 4 times a game. There's just something wrong in the system
Yeah,
itself. I mean,
yeah. Look. I think on that point though, I think it's like look. There's a defense on the other side, right? Like you got young guys playing point guard, carrying the ball, etc. There's an element to that, right? Like, and if you're trying to create
so
offense,
why are
right? Like sometimes the creation comes with a little bit of mistakes. So I think there's a give and take. I'm not saying it's all good and dandy. I'm just saying that there's a give and take
So
there.
why is Dixon, Daniel, and Slater, elder statesmen, getting absolutely cooked by underclassmen who are freshmen and sophomore? And then you have Whitmore, who is a top 5 NBA draft pick. He is getting stolen and absolutely cooked on defensive end by guys that are not even that good. There's clearly issues there. I mean, there's something wrong. And if we played faster, we'd have even more turnovers. So when people say that we should play faster, I absolutely do not agree with that, and it would lead to even more turnovers. Because if we're turning the ball over at the rate we are right now, playing faster, as logic would state, and as every single statistic would state, if you actually calculate it mathematically, we would turn it over even more. So what we're doing right now is probably the best thing that we actually can do statistically. So if we play,
Yeah,
so that I mean, it is what it is. We're not a good team in terms of ball handling and ball control. So I mean, where do we go from here?
yeah. I hear you. Thanks again, Joseph, for coming back on. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for your point. We do have Dwayne Anderson. I don't know if Dwayne, you're able to chat. You had a little bit of problem before, but you there, Coach?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Coach. Thanks for coming back on. You graduated with me and Rob, so it's crazy to see us all come full circle and still be talking Nova hoops.
Nice, nice.
Um, but hope you're well.
I'm great. I'm actually traveling. I tried to get on early. I'm not sure what happened. I couldn't hear much, but I heard A Ray talk a lot. I heard A Ray talk a little bit. I just wanted to thank all the fans. Man, we have the best fans. They're so passionate, um, and I think I've heard him talk about what Collin said and what Jalen. It's tough to be patient these days. But these guys, the effort is there. They're putting in the work, and of course, we want to win every single game. Um, but these guys are working, and it's great to work with these guys. It's great as coaches to work with this staff, and we're as Villanova, like you said earlier, people wanted Jay Wright fired years ago, and he became Hall of Fame. So, we're working, and hopefully we can turn it around tomorrow. If not, our next biggest game is tomorrow, and then not the next big game. And our goal is always try to be the best at the end of the year.
Dwayne, I have a question for you. Back to your playing days.
Yes.
You guys lost 5 in a row in 07-08. Capped off by a 22-point loss to St.
St.
Joe's at
Joe's.
the
Yep.
Palestra. Yep. And then the next game we played Seton Hall, and I'm sure you remember it very clearly, but you hit a 3-pointer with 12 seconds left in that game that kind of took us over the hump and started a run back to the NCAA tournament. Is there an element on the coaching staff of like, man, we just got to get these guys a really good moment like that? Is there a feeling in there?
To be honest, we don't. I know exactly this. I remember that year losing those 5 games, and I remember the pressure around the program that was used to winning. We don't talk about a moment like that. We don't talk about. I know it's going to sound crazy, it might upset some people about the NCAA tournament, but we just really try to be the best team, and by doing that, we just happen to go to Final Fours and win championships. But we just try to get the right kids and compete and just play Villanova basketball. That's always our goal. So we don't talk about that making a moment. If we do, that'd be amazing, obviously.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you joining us on here and everything that you guys do and everything that you guys have worked towards to keep the continuity of this program going. So thank you for joining us. And I know you're traveling and are busy. Any other thoughts, or you just wanted to come on and say thanks?
I just wanted to come on and say thank you. I was listening. I was traveling, and I had some time before I jump on this plane. Right, I'm actually about to board right now. So just wanted to say thank you to the Nova Nation, and the positive thoughts. I know there's negative thoughts as well, but we're going to continue to work hard for one another, the players, their families, and this coaching staff, um, and for all of Nova Nation as well.
Hey, thanks a lot, Coach, and go get them tomorrow.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, that was absolutely incredible. So not every day that you get that. All right. We do have Yuli who's back on to talk a little Butler.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your team and what we can expect for tomorrow.
I think that Butler wants to come out hard tomorrow. The students will be back. They really don't want to lose. This is a make or break game for them. Their season's on the line here. The fans will let them know that tomorrow if they disappoint. I think it's going to be a close game. It's Friday the 13th. Who knows what can happen? Who knows if Nova's going to get the bad luck or Butler's going to get the bad luck. But I see it being like a 70-67 game. I think it comes down to the final minute. I think the keys for Butler is getting Manny Bates back to getting, 15 points, 10 rebounds, and making sure that our guards are putting up consistent numbers. It was good to see Chuck Harris do better the other day, but we need to get Eric Hunter involved more. And I'd also like to see more players involved in the rotation, not just a 6-7 man rotation, because I don't think it's working out well. And I just think that whoever is hitting their shots, not making turnovers, hitting their free throws will end up winning the game.
Well, I couldn't say it better myself. That's all very fair points. What are you guys looking for as a fan base? Like, give me like the one thing that you say, like, hey, if this team, if Butler does this well, they tend to win. If Butler doesn't do this well, they tend to lose. What's the one thing in your mind?
Shooting percentage. When we get above like a 40% shooting percentage, we win the game. When we're shooting like 30%, 20%, we don't. And I also want to see energy. I want to see them getting into the game mentally, not just being there. I want them to be there mentally and just after every basket do something for the crowd or just show some type of passion, because it's just been seeing that they're just out there just to be out there, not actually wanting to play. And it's really bothering me because I need to see passion.
All right. Awesome. Well, appreciate that. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Obviously, we hope you don't have as good a night, but
It's gonna be a
obviously
good
it's all
game.
good fun in the Big East. So
Okay.
thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, we have Jeffrey waiting to speak, so we're gonna bring Jeffrey up. Jeffrey, what's going on, man? You just come off a mute, and then you're good to go.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that you accepted. Sorry. I was just gonna I just wanted to ask, like, kind of, I just got in here, so I wasn't sure what you talked about before, but I was gonna regurgitate what you just asked him. Like, you asked him what he looks for in a Butler team every night, and I want to know, what do you guys look for in this Villanova team coming down the stretch here? What do you want to see every night from them?
Yeah. So look, I think there's a point here where, look, Dwayne said they don't talk about the NCAA tournament. Look, and I get why they do that as a program. I think that's healthy for them as a program. I think as fans, obviously, we're talking about, hey, what does this look like? How do we get here? Whatever. Since the loss on Tuesday, I'm kind of erasing that. I just want to see his team get better and get healthy and get better, like and like try to enjoy the process of this season. We have three seniors, or two seniors, sorry, in Caleb and Brandon, who obviously want to go out on a high note. And we have Cam Whitmore, who probably, in all likelihood, won't be here next year. And then obviously Justin Moore's got decisions to make at the end of this season. I'm looking for the team to find ways to get a little bit more cohesive defensively. To me, finishing possessions with the rebounding is like really something that's been a bugaboo on my end while I watch the games. It's like, how many possessions do you see? Hey, they finally strung a couple stops together, and then the ball kind of comes off the rim, hits one of our guys in the hands. It's a contested board, and ricochets out of bounds, and it goes back to their team. And then off an inbounds play, they manufacture a good shot and get some points. That to me is like one of the more frustrating things. Like, I can live with missed shots. I can live with missed 3-pointers. I can live with a bunch of different things like that. That really frustrates me, because that to me is just like, hey, get your hands on that rebound. Easier said than done, but just something that they can do to finish possessions that'll probably peel 12 points off the board from the other team, that would change a lot of the game's results this season. So that to me is big. I'll obviously let my co-host Rob and Tommy give their thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who listens to the podcast knows I'm not going to give you a technical answer on this, so I'm going to keep it a little bit more generic, and I think you kind of alluded to it. Like, I'm starting to view this season, not starting to. I've been viewing this season a little bit differently now for a little bit of time, and for me, I'm really just looking for growth. We've talked about this on other seasons as well too, but I think it takes obviously a bit of a different meaning now that we have obviously a new coach. We have a ton of guys who are at their senior year who are not going to be with the program next year. We have a lot of young guys who are on the program. So I want to start to see how this team, and particularly how some of the younger guys are developing, so I can start to get a bead on what next year is going to look like from a team perspective, but then also like what this program is going to look like moving forward as well too. Like, we've talked about other transition points at other points in other seasons, but obviously this one is a whole lot different. So just trying to understand what is going to be kind of the starting point for next year is the thing that I'm looking for, and just seeing how especially some of the young guys develop is the big thing. So yeah, I'm not going to look for a technical thing. I'm honestly, like, making the tournament at this point is going to be a tall task. So I think I'm not holding my breath on it. I'm hopeful for it, but I just want to see the guys improve and start to get some signals for next year.
Yeah. Yeah, Rob hit the nail right on the head there. The only thing that we're looking for down this stretch is growth. I mean, you talk to anyone on the team, and they're going to say that they want to be the best team that they can be by the end of the year. I think they're on their way to doing that. I mean, this was never going to be an easy year, and it's only gotten harder with all the wrenches thrown in the plans, with Brizzy transferring, the Longino injury. Um, you guys get the point. But, yeah, just growth and progress from one game to the next. I think we are seeing incredible progress, although it might not look like it right now in this little skid that we're in. But, yeah, they just beating the dead horse all night. They just got to stay the course. And back to the Armstrong and Whitmore and the whole pace argument that we were having, not argument, but discussion that we were having before. They're not going to play fast just to play fast. They're going to take what the defense gives them. I think Armstrong's done a great job already. I'm like the unofficial leader of his fan club. I love Mark Armstrong. He is the second lowest turnover rate in the entire rotation. He's doing a great job, and he's only a freshman. I mean, relying as a freshman point guard at Villanova to lead the pack is like at any school, but especially at Villanova. So I think he's doing a great job. They're only going to get better from here, and I'm excited for this little stretch that they're about to go on.
Awesome. Jeffrey, any thoughts from you? I mean, you asked the question. I was curious if you had anything in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I agree. I think growth is really big, and I think it comes down to heart. I think you don't want to see guys even looking at giving up on games. I look the same way as your podcast name, the Full40. Like it's just a motto that I think the team needs to live by. You're down, you're beat down right now. You're 8-9. You don't really know what you have going for you tournament wise, and it's not a kind of year that the program's had in a decent while now. At least not since any of them even started imagining playing for us. And I just hope that every game down the stretch you see they come out and they start fast and they end fast and they play hard and they get out and they box out and they rebound and they just do all the little things, because that's how you really get better as a team, I think. And I think it sets you up really well to get back into that contending space over the next couple of years.
Yeah. No, appreciate those thoughts, Jeffrey. Thanks a lot for coming up. All right. We have a fan favorite here, T-God. We got T-God coming up. T-God, I just want to know, have you hit the slopes tonight?
Hey, Chris, how are you, man?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm a bit fucked up right now. Hope everybody's doing well. Chris, thanks so much for having these spaces 2 days after the game. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I try and really just space it out. I want people to really think about it for a while and then have to engage in Villanova basketball on an off night.
Also, it was a late night that game ended. Some of us work early in the morning.
Fuck off. But anyway, I just really appreciate you making me wait this whole time. I'm a loyal Full40 fan, and you're letting in these guys that have never spoken before in here. I just don't understand. Where's the love for T-God? I've been loyal my entire life to you.
We wanted you to have, your own platform. We had a bunch of guests in here, etc. We needed to make sure that we got T-God his own platform.
I wanted to talk to Brunson, Chris.
I can't get everybody to talk to Jalen. He was in for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's on Chris for letting Jalen Brunson talk over you.
Trevor, enough with the
I'm done now. I couldn't let that one go.
Enough of the wise ass comments, all right? Anyway, before I get to my question, I just wanted to point out that this Joseph guy, don't really take anything he says seriously. He turns the game off when shit hits the fan. He's not a true loyal fan, and I just wouldn't take anything he says seriously, guys. Watch out for Joseph. He's not a true loyal fan.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're not getting into intra-fan wars. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it.
Anyways, Chris, my question was, am I the only one that thinks Brandon Slater has been so underwhelming and just so ass for us as a fifth-year senior?
Jesus Christ. Can you ask a question in like a normal fashion as like a human? Like, yeah, I get where you're going with it. Come
Maybe,
on.
but maybe it's just because I had Samuels and Gillespie as my fifth year seniors last year. But it's fucking ridiculous. You're 25 years old playing against 18-year-olds, and they're just getting bullied out there. I feel like Slater's getting worse and worse every year. I feel like his best year was his junior year.
Look, look, man. Slater's been put in weird positions all season long. He's been asked to do a lot more than he has. I think a guy like a Justin Moore would change things for him. I really do. Like put him in position a little bit more. He's been asked to create offense, be the best defender, be the second best rebounder. I feel like you're just asking a lot from Slater. That's kind of like my overall take there. It's like I've seen flashes. He's had 17, 18, 19-point games. He's had games where he's pulled down, tons of rebounds. He's had steals. He's had dunks. He's had blocks. Like it's all been there. He hasn't put it together as consistently as you like, which you've pointed out. But like, I think I get the frustration, but I do think that there's an element there of just like if he had the opportunity to play in like a fully healthy roster, which he hasn't yet, like I think you'd see a little bit of a different element there.
No, I think you're just being an optimistic Nova fan. I think we need to face reality on Slater. And you said before to me that his offensive game has just peaked, and I agree with that. But it's like the rebounding. I'm seeing him getting out rebounded, boxed out. Like it's just embarrassing. He's 24 years old.
Oh my goodness, T God, come on, man.
T God, has Sean Easton blocked you yet?
No, she's being a hoe.
Jesus Christ.
I did.
All right, all right. As always, T God, I
All right,
appreciate.
Chris. Thanks for having me on, man. Till next time.
Yeah. See you
Love you,
later.
buddy. Love you.
All right. Bye bye.
Me too.
I love you too, man.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
All right.
All righty. T God always good for some entertainment. All right, let's get man, we have a couple more requests. Let's get Joe back on. Joe, you're back. What's up?
Hey, Full40, Chris, am I on?
Yeah,
I
you're on.
appreciate it. All right, so he kind of threw me off. I had a couple things and like scrap some stuff. All right, so
just pick up where you were gonna go.
all right. Weirdly, the first way I was gonna go was food. So, I know like Road to the Garden does like the review. Um, we all know like everything in like the Finn is like kind of hot garbage. Like you going there more recently. By the way, let me give you a little bit of context. Like I went, my wife was like pretty cool about it, and I have a friend that works on campus. I got nice seats versus Xavier and my birthday, December 30th, 2019, right before the pandemic, right? So um I'd never seen the new pavilion before. I'd never seen the freaking like refectory or whatever. Had a pretty cool night. And then all of a sudden, like 2 years, you can't go there. And then it's like all of a sudden now it's back. And that night, I'm like, because I know someone that actually works at the school. Like I'm hanging out. And John Fanta is just like freaking scribbling over something. So I go over, I'm talking, I get a cool like picture with him. And I just remember like what it's like to like be in like that lower bowl and like have the nice cool tickets and like do the thing. So my first question was like, what was it like more recently? Call it post COVID. Is it all back to normal? Because I know you were going there with Brian Martin and stuff. I want to like talk more about like that experience. And then the other thing, I don't know if anyone's gonna say it, but I want to ask the question. It's like, I do think that there's like there was like a little bit of like gap with the recruitment and Brizzy. I've because everyone's like, oh, we have like a point guard problem. We didn't go to the portal. Da, da, da. Well, you wouldn't have had to go to the portal if you thought the guy that you had, like that you'd redshirted for a year, that was like going to be awesome, was going to be Brizzy, and he was going to be your point guard. Like we didn't, like, and he ended up not being the guy, and now he's transferring. And like, I think I knew that like Collin or A-Ray were not gonna talk to specific players, but like I thought it was kind of weird. Like I felt like we have this guy that he was supposed to be a dude, and he transferred, and now like, but weirdly he filled the spot, and I just don't know if you guys have any more information, like what the hell happened there, and then what's like the plan going forward there, because I feel like there's like a real gap. They talked about, oh, there's like the senior guys and the junior guys. Well, there's supposed to be some guys in between. The guy was supposed to be Brizzy, and Brizzy's not the guy. So, like, what are we doing? So I don't know. That was my other question.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
J-
I'll
Go
get. I'll
ahead,
get this.
Rob.
Yeah. So I don't certainly won't demean anybody, but I think there's at least my perception of things was never that Brizzy was supposed to be the guy going forward. And again, like this doesn't all come down to rankings as we talked about earlier, but it's not like we had Brizzy pegged as a 5-star recruit who was getting handed the keys to the kingdom, if you will. So yes, there's obviously always some disappointment when somebody transfers, and there's always a question mark of, hey, did something not work out? And yeah, obviously something didn't work out where he wasn't happy. Certainly he didn't do enough to earn the minutes. And I always come back to this point because we've had this debate a lot on the podcast and kind of in the background of like the folks who you point to who became like the key players kind of regardless of where they were ranked initially, whether they were a 3-star or like Collin, whether they were a 4-star or a 5-star, the guys who really ended up making an impact tended to be guys who cracked the rotation their freshman year right off the bat. And those who didn't, tend not to. There are obviously exceptions to that, but to me, it was a bit of an indication to say, hey, look, redshirted Brizzy. Obviously, we had a great team last year, so there certainly weren't the minutes to go around. But then, we're halfway through his sophomore year as well too, and he still hasn't really been able to crack the rotation. So I think there's more there than kind of meets the eye where I'm saying, oh, I'm really concerned that he was going to be the piece and kind of the answer going forward. Like we've talked a lot about this before. Like
Hey, well, Rob.
Mark has shown a ton of potential. So assuming that Brizzy's going to take that spot or whatever, I think is a little bit silly.
Hey, Rob. So to that point, because I agree with you, then do we run into a situation where, and this is where I fall on it, is was Neptune in a position where, hey, you just gotta keep the roster together, but like you already knew like that guy wasn't the dude, and he wasn't allowed to go out and get anyone. Like I guess to your point, like he did everything you do, he did everything right, but like you have a gap there. You really have a gap there, and we're seeing it because that's why like our Chris Arch is like playing like 20 North minutes, like that. You guys know that shouldn't be happening. So like, I just want to know what you guys are thinking about it. Like, and I can see it. Like I see like Neptune getting his like hands tied, and maybe that's all it is. Because they're like, hey, we have all these kids. Like, and maybe he's got promises to the families of the kids that are already on campus. Like, we have no idea. But it's like, there's something there, dude. Like, there is like a gap.
Yeah.
A
So
gap.
so so I have no inside knowledge on this, but I look at the end of last year, just to go through kind of like what happened at the end of last season, right? Moore goes down, tears his Achilles. Collin graduates. We don't know at that moment if Moore is going to even come back, or what his prognosis is going to be, right? Like Achilles injury could take 18 months, right? Like so we could have been
No,
totally
right.
without
So,
him.
like, to your
Yeah.
point, that's
So
a
hold on. Let me just.
zero, right?
Yeah. Right. But then Antoine is still with the program at that point in time. Um, you have Caleb, who made a decision to come back and exercise his COVID fifth year. You have a commit in Mark Armstrong. You have Brizzy as a red shirt. You have Arch kind of in the reserve role. So the depth chart, even without Moore, still looks pretty like long. So the option there is to go to the portal, right? And I could argue that maybe a veteran guard, um, from like a top mid-major school that's looking to go out there, like Courtney Ramey, I think was out there, if I'm not mistaken, or
Yep.
something along those lines, would have been a smart decision. But they were also trying to keep. If you remember, the news was Colin Neptune's head coach now, like Jay and Kyle and like the assistant coaches are meeting with all the players, all the families of the players, not to mention Hausen too in that, and they're trying to keep everything. They're trying to keep everything together. I don't know in that moment if there were promises made about not going to the portal
Yeah, I mean,
or whatever.
you're hitting what I'm thinking. Like, I
Yeah,
wonder if that moment.
you just don't know, and I don't know if anyone was ever going to give you a straight answer on that. My guess is that they probably said, "We're not going to go to the portal. We want your son to come here. He's going to get playing time." And that's that at that position. Now, do I think that they maybe should have found someone in the portal elsewhere on the team, maybe on the big side, on the big man side, like whatever to help with rebounding, defense? Yeah, maybe you could argue that too. But like, I do think that there is an element of the not hitting the portal at the end of last season. I think is hurts, and I think this team could have benefited from the portal. I do think that Neptune has no choice but to go to the portal at the end of this season.
Well,
Um,
he'll live there. I mean, I guess I get where I get a little frustrated is I kind of feel like there was a point, not even before all that, everything you just said, where someone needed to know, like either, and I know that Colin and Ray would have read me on this one, but like if you knew that like Brizzy wasn't the dude, like you need to get someone.
but I guess look, I've made that comment. I made that comment around talent evaluation or whatever. I think it's a fair point. But at that point, they had redshirted the kid. They thought, hey, he put on some weight. Like he actually got in the weight room. He like, do
Oh,
you
I
remember what
wanted
Brizzy?
him to be the
Do you
guy.
remember
Trust
Brizzy a
me.
year
Like,
ago when he came in? He was a skinny kid. Like he actually looked the part. Like got in the weight room with Shaq. Clearly groomed. Like got stronger. Whatever. I think there was a big hope, and there was a lot of talk about him over the summer. I think there
big
was a
time.
genuine hope that he was going to have a successful campaign. That doesn't mean that he was going to be the next great guard
No, but I
like
agree with you. Like,
yeah
I understand why you wouldn't go, because if you have him in the hopper, like, why do you go? And I just don't know what happened between then and now. I just like I just don't, and maybe we will never know.
yeah. I mean, maybe it's something along the lines of like, hey, he saw that he was getting beat out for the minutes, and that's it is what it is. Like a lot of people say, oh my God, he didn't get the minutes. Like we ran him out of town. How could we? And I think that there's some elements of truth to that.
No, but
But there's
we all
but
know like the way this culture works, and the Colin and A Ray like kind of keyed into it. Like you earn it. Like you beat the ass of the guy in front of you. That's how you get the minutes, right? So
yeah.
like it's real. It's not like no one likes you. It's not like no one doesn't like you. Like we recruit you, we love you. Like you either beat the guy in front of you, or you don't, right? I mean, like it's just kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of stinks. Like, but anyway, that it gives me a lot of like agita, and it shouldn't.
Yeah,
But
I love it. I love it. But truth be told, I think there's something. I think that there's an element there where you have a guy where I think he might have looked up and saw the clippings of, hey, Moore's injury. He's starting to practice and whatever, and thinking to himself, oh my God, I'm falling to fourth now on the depth chart. Like I'm never going to get on the court. And I again, no inside knowledge, just my speculation, and so take it for what it's worth. But might have just said, I'm not going to get on the court this season. I might not get on the court next season, like because all these guys are coming back next year,
Oh,
except
at
maybe
that point,
more.
you're absolutely right. Like at that point, he's doing the right decision. You gotta do it, man.
Yeah,
Because
he's
he's
just
not
saying,
like let's not like get this twisted. Like he's gonna play in like a high level team, probably do some stuff. It's just like you're right. There is like a bottleneck on our team, but like, he'll do stuff. Like it's not like he's like
yeah, it's weird because it's one of those situations where the bottleneck isn't like it's not like you're playing behind Brunson and Gillespie, right? Like to the point raised earlier, like you're playing behind Mark and Arch, and for a half a year, Justin Moore maybe, but like which is obviously in ways stiff competition, but you're playing with guys who at some point in time might be different skill sets, but roughly equal skill sets, but just getting beat out. And so it's a really odd situation. He's going to be good at another school. I hope he does well.
no.
All right.
All right, guys. I know you guys got other people to talk to you. Thanks very much. Bye. Love you guys.
Thanks, Joe. All right. So I'm going to remove Joe. I brought Ryan back up, and I'm going to bring Patrick back up for just a second because there was a question that Joe brought up around game day experience and what have you. I got to be honest, and Rob, you could chime in if you're still here. Uh, Having been to a game day at the new renovated pavilion, it is like way better than the old one. Like they do a nice job. I did used to love the big wall of the student section on the south side of the pavilion, but taking that out of the equation, it was the game day experience for the average regular fan kind of going to the games is unbelievably better between the food options, the alcohol options, and what have you.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. I can't second that enough. I mean, the old pavilion was just like an absolute joke compared to what it is now. I mean, we can all knock the footprint. They should have made it bigger, yada yada yada. But putting that aside, the overall experience is just so much more enjoyable. You feel like you're actually entering an arena that belongs in 2020 instead of an arena that belongs in the 1980s and honestly like the 1970s before that too. So look, I can definitely knock. We've made this point, and our guest earlier made the same point too. The class system they have between the first tier and the second tier drives me absolutely crazy. But the food's good. It's good arena food, and the sight lines, no matter where you are in the arena, are pretty awesome. Nicole and I were at a game. We were at the St. John's game a few weeks ago, and we had some upper deck seats, and it's like, I don't know, you still felt like you were on the court, which is pretty awesome. And so look, you can knock the size of it and say, yeah, I want it to be bigger, but there's something awesome about that. Like when you contrast it to we'll go to MSG in a couple of weeks as well too, and I'm sure we'll have some seats up in the rafters, and you feel like you're a million miles away. So just having that feeling to be back on campus and feel like you're like on the court is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And from Ryan and Patrick, I don't think you guys got to go to games at the old pavilion, but
I
from a
I did. I went to plenty of them because my mom actually teaches history at Nova, and I got to go to plenty back in the day.
so give a little compare because you're in the student section now.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
Okay, I think everything like about the new pavilion as a whole, like the colors and the way it looks is great. The like class system, I hate it with a burning effing passion. I literally hate how like you can't go down to the I forget the like Fitzgerald Club and see the championship court unless it's like a women's game and they just don't give two shits. Student section. I like the idea of having like students on both ends, but I wish they kind of did it in the way that like say like Duke, Penn, like any of these bigger schools, they have them like on the baseline, kind of like like really just like with the best seats in the house. I mean, like I get it, you got people paying thousands of dollars for season tickets and just like all that jazz, but like I mean, there was nothing else like that big wall of students and the players just coming straight down the student section to start the game. That was literally like Clemson running down the hill, but like take that for college basketball. Like every time I got to witness that, I had chills up and down my spine. And as soon as they took it out for the new renovations, I cannot tell you how sad I was when I found out that they just run along the front and just like they don't even high five anymore. It's just sad. I just get left hanging like Josh Hart and have to high five myself. But yeah, I think as a whole, um, the game day experience is solid. Obviously, we've lost two straight now at the Finn, which is the first time since Michigan and Furman. But I know I'm trying to do my part as a game day leader. We're having a meeting in the next couple days about like what we do to improve because I went to the Palestra, saw a Penn State student section, took some notes, been like, all right, what works, what doesn't. But it's getting there. The students just gotta get better. I know you got the tactics because you guys killed it back in the day. But yeah, it overall it'll take time for the Finn to kind of just like kind of really have that home court advantage. I'd say like it's strong now, but it'll be stronger in the future. That's what I'd say.
One thing I have to say about the running down the thing, it was always very cool. It was one of the cool, unique little aspects about what we did. But my God, I can't believe no one got injured doing that. Like,
Oh my God, same. I was always worried. I'm like, oh man, please do not fall. Like I remember watching Inside Villanova basketball one time, and Phil Booth was just talking about that run down the stairs. He's like, I'm just trying to make it down in one piece: right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. And oh man, but good for player safety, bad for overall fan experience. So Mark Jackson, take note.
awesome. Hey, Patrick, anything else to add? I see you're back on.
The one thing. So I was never in the old Finn, but I've been in just like a couple similar sized schools arenas. Obviously, I've been over to Hagen at St. Joe's. I've been up to Holy Cross. I've been down to Lehigh. Um, and I'm lucky enough to go to that like D2 school. I don't know if you've heard of it, Boston College. I don't know. And so like a lot of their arenas are like, well, Holy Cross has renovated theirs since, but the one thing about the Palestra, oh my God, I was called the Palestra. What? The one thing about the Fan is it's very personal. Like it feels like kind of like you said, you could be sitting anywhere and you get a good view, and like the weird cross shape of it, it like feels weird looking at it, but then like you get in there and it feels small. It almost feels like a high school gym in terms of like a the equivalent of like a Texas high school football stadium, like as a basketball stadium in like a good way, like all the good things, because it's like everyone can see, it feels tight, and it like you might not have that many people in there, but it can get loud. Like if the students get loud in the Fin, it gets loud. So I think it does its purpose, especially since like the rumblings were like something about like the township didn't want them to build this big stadium or something, right? I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but it's just like hearsay that I've heard. So
I like it. All right. Looking around a little bit here, we still got all right, D Laurie 87 coming back. The signed hat. We're back here. What's up?
Yo, yo, yo. I saw Collin come back in here. Y'all were just talking about different stadiums, and in by accident you mentioned the Palestra. And I don't know if we were trying to avoid the subject of the Palestra, but I mean, talk about an uncomfortable stadium with the most amount of history, 8,500 people. But I was just there on a Sunday for Penn State versus Purdue. Yo,
Same.
it was 20 degrees outside and about 100 degrees, maybe even Celsius, in that place. Look,
I sweat through everything, man. I sweat
yo,
through everything.
you want there was a cookie stand. Ain't no one buying cookies in January at the Palestra. They were buying water and Powerade because also no one knew where to get the. I mean, T God would know where to get the beer in that place. I know he would. T God would show up at the Palestra probably with a 12-pack of Miller under his shirt. I finally did find the beer, and they were closed. It's in like some swaggy ass
Yeah,
alumni hall. Like I don't even.
Yeah, it's in like this like weird like cookie cutter like entrance sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's weird, but that's what makes it so cool and
But
special.
it kind of, I mean, I'm trying to remember. You got to help me out on this one, like, because we all know with Jay Wright and the Big Five and the Palestra, like, kind of got away from that game. And I saw Collin here before because I think like my last game with the Palestra with Nova, if I'm not mistaken, was against Penn, obviously, where we were like we must have been like top 10 team. He must have dropped like 20s. I mean, we murdered them. Now, granted, I also remember one game against Penn when I was in Ireland, stayed up till 4 in the damn morning watching a stream on like the shittiest Wi-Fi ever, and we lost like two games that stick in my mind: Columbia and Penn. One at the one before it was the old before the Finn was around, and then that game against Penn where we lost. But going back to at what point does anyone remember when we kind of got away from that whole like wanting to play at the Palestra and kind of getting, obviously going to be part of the Big Five forever, but getting away because I grew up going to like triple headers there, and somehow I'll parlay this into the theme of the new Finn, but maybe you can help me out here when like those years, and maybe it gets back into our history of Villanova and kind of how we grew as a fan base together.
Yeah, so this I don't remember exactly. You know who would be able to tell me? Any Temple, St. Joe's, or LaSalle fan would be able to tell me exactly which coach ruined the Big Five because they all have their answers to that question.
Yeah.
I think it was actually towards the end of Raleigh's or Lapis's term, and it was like a very watered down thing for a bit, and Jay was kind of like the part of the architecture of kind of at least bringing back playing the full slate of Big Five games every year, which I think is a good and healthy thing to do.
I do. Like I know it's uncomfortable. Like as we saw at the game, like Penn State Purdue game, and I know that. I mean, I sat in the aisle. Like there wasn't room. Like if for those that have never been to the Palestra, don't ever buy row 10. Seats 19 and 20 on any section because you will just become a human usher, and it's the worst. Keep that.
So we got Sean P raised his hand quickly, so maybe Sean P has an answer. I don't know if he was coming in to answer. Sean, come off of mute. You're on. Sean, you're on mute still. If you come in top the bottom left. Yeah. Looks like he's having some technical difficulties, but yeah. So look, I think something needs to happen with the Big Five. I think that there is actually maybe a little bit. I think enough time has passed since kind of like the old Big Five and the old heads who are like super passionate about it one way or the other. I think that there is a little bit of openness to maybe finding a way to revamp it a little bit. Villanova, I'm sure, given that we have this Finn on our campus, we have the relationship with Wells Fargo, probably does not want to give up the revenue to have a split house and to manage that with their
I was gonna say the only time that I can get tickets for the Finn, and I think someone might have mentioned this earlier, like when they were talking about the Xavier on their birthday, because that's exactly reminds me of myself. The only time I can get a ticket at the Finn is when the students are on break and we call the away team, and people then they have extra tickets or they might have some extra student tickets. So I go to all the Wells Fargo games, and that's a treat for me, right? Because granted, mine is like being a ranked team, like I said, like earlier, my like against Virginia, or like back in the days when like UConn would come in here and Mr. Hotballs and his damn goons will come down and take over the top 7 corners. Like that's a very affordable. Like all fans could, for the most part, for $20 or $30, go to the Wells Fargo. They've redone a lot of it. It's pretty much a damn good seat anywhere, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You're in the house to watch some great college basketball. But no, that's a good point about the revenue side, especially because new stadium, want to make money, all that.
Yeah, I think there's a world in which we can figure out some way to do it better. I definitely think
there was a tournament at the Palestra. I don't know what it was called. It was called the Cathedral Classic, and it was
Chris, tell them all about it.
I'm going on mute. I want to hear about it.
Was this the thing that I went to back? See,
I know that Delaware was in it. If that spurs something.
oh man, yeah, there was a tournament. Look, this is a turkey tournament that we played in like the 08-09 season. I told this story on here already, but I went to this and I must have been one. It was at the Palestra. We played like Towson, Delaware might have been on it. Like it was horrible. It was terrible, awful tournament. And there might have been like 12 people total in the Palestra to watch these games. And I was one of the fucking sickos who were there. And I went there and we were playing Towson or something like that. Shane Clark was on the team at the time. Dwayne Anderson was on the team. Dante Cunningham, Scotty Reynolds, Fisher, Stokes, all those guys were on the team. Anyway, at that point in time in the season, they were trying to get Shane Clark to be more confident shooting the ball when he was open. But he was like seeing ghosts. So he would inevitably up fake, even though he was up faking nobody. Like he was up faking. There was not a defender within 10 feet of him, and he was up faking. And so he up fakes one time, starts to drive, gets called for a travel because he shuffled his feet when he starts that drive. And Pat Chambers, one of the assistant coaches at the time, who's now the coach at Florida Gulf Coast, yells at him at the top of his lungs, "Shane, shoot the fucking ball!" And literally, like all 12 people here, including myself, could hear it. And it was we were busting out laughing because it was like a laugher of a game. But they're like coaching these guys up so hard in that moment. Just hilarious stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even when Jay was there, even when we'd be up by like 30, he'd still be yelling at people like maybe more like 20, and I always found that pretty funny. Just like, but that you earned that right? Like, we're not putting in the last three on the bench unless we were up 30. And Jay, I mean, it'd be even the 2016 shot by Jenkins. I mean, his face was like it was like he just saw a murder. It was hilarious. I always loved that about him.
Yeah, just intensity until the last minute.
Attitude, yeah, intensity and attitude.
And now he's taking pictures with a freaking beaver at Buc-ee's.
Yeah, what Hot Balls? I think one of those cronies posted that. I mean, yeah. Well, according to Patino, he's gonna go coach somewhere. But anything Patino says, I take with what's less than a grain of salt. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, appreciate it. Hey, so look, we got anyone who wants to chat, anyone who has any thoughts, questions, whatever, please feel free to request up. I'm still going. I still got some energy. I still got some bourbon in me, so I'm still going here. Patrick's raising his hand. All right, Patrick, come off mute. What's up?
Hey, what's up? So as Cam Whitmore Campus Corner, which is a crazy great name, as he was saying, kind of talking about the Big Five. I've got a brother that went to St. Joe's, so they're always talking about the Big Five, and I know that like Turkey tournament that sounded like a horrendous bunch of matchups. Like I don't know who's going to watch Delaware versus Towson versus in Philly besides Delaware and Towson fans. So, but I don't know. I would love to see like a tournament for the Big Five. Maybe throw Drexel in there so it's a 3-3. But I'd love to see games like that. And then like in terms of like trying to figure out the revenue, you play as long as Villanova keeps winning it. I mean, winners should get to pick where they play. So then get to play at the Finn. They come play us, and then. Or I don't know. It's like, or even just host it at the Wells Fargo, because then I feel like everyone's happy in that case. But I don't know. I'd love to see some sort of a requiem for the Big Five, just because it seems like the history there is really cool and had some of the best college basketball for some years.
Yeah, I think one thing that you could do. Oh, sorry. I just want to give a shout out to my co-host here before I go on with the with this. Rob's gonna drop. Rob, any parting thoughts?
No, just a quick thanks to everybody for joining. It was obviously an awesome session. Had a ton of great guests, but yeah, thank you guys a ton. Obviously, this session is nothing without you guys. So talk soon.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
later. All right, I'm still going here because I'm nuts. So So I'm going to keep it rolling. Sorry, I think there could be something where you basically say, okay, either you involve Drexel, that's obviously a good option. You involve Drexel, or you do something where the winner of the Big Five champion every year, gets a bye to kind of like the second round, if you will. You play the first round games at the Palestra in a doubleheader, right? Then the second round, or I guess would it just go? Oh yeah, I guess no, it would go to you play a second round game at at the Wells Fargo, and then a final game at the Wells Fargo, something like that. I might have gotten fucking lost in the
I think
in all
like
this.
along what you're saying, that kind of like whoever won, whoever has the best record against a certain team, like you get that home court. You get to say like it's us, like we get to play at the Finn first round, and then you move it to the Wells Fargo. I kind of like that.
Or I was actually saying the Palestra. Like, if you want
Oh
to keep
yeah,
the
yeah,
Palestra
sure.
element, and you do some type of revenue share, but Villanova's the one who has the tenant relationship with the Wells Fargo's, and then that would give Villanova the ability to get whole if they get like one game's full revenue for that. I don't know how to work it. Like, someone smarter than me can do it, but I feel like there's a way they can revitalize it by. I agree. I think some type of tournament would be the best way to do it because it kind of also condenses it. Like, make the Big Five a thing. Like, right smack in the middle of the holiday season might be a good option.
Yeah, and like one thing I've heard, like I've had just conversations like anecdotally with the students, just like peers of mine, and they're like, "Oh, who gives a crap about the Big Five?" And the pushback I always have to that, in case anyone here does hold that opinion, it's like even if you don't care about the history of the Big Five, which is like whatever, I'm not gonna go preach to you. You should believe in something that. But anyways, the games we play against them, they're good ranked games. There's usually Temple, Penn, St. Joe's, LaSalle. They're all always going to be a team that is trying to put out a trying to put out a competitive product on the basketball court. And like you go look at some of the other Big East teams, and like I'm picking a bad one, but like for example, St. John's, who's always notably kind of knocked for their schedule, they're going and playing Merrimack and Lafayette and Central Connecticut for this year for their first three games. It's like the good thing about playing those Big Five teams is it's not going to be cupcake games. Like St. Joe's helped us almost neck and neck half the game. Like these teams, they don't like each other. They're not actually, but just like there is a rivalry having these teams within the area. So I think it's an important. I think Jay Wright even talked about this, like keeping that aspect of it, the competitive aspect of it, and not having to travel during the like all of those things combined, not having to travel. I know you don't hold this opinion, Chris, but just like that's my reasoning behind why we should keep playing these Big Five games. Like I think they're good for our schedule and just good for not having to travel because like travel's a bitch.
Yeah, I think you get two. Look, you get two home games. I mean, sorry, you get two away games that count for like against mid majors, and like there's not many programs that go on the road to play mid major programs, right? Like, so you get some credit there, and goodwill, and you don't even have to get on a plane to do it. So like I definitely agree that there's a lot of value in the Big Five, and if it's taking the place of other tougher games in the last few years, we've seen that, right? Like you still have the UCLA's, the Purdue's, the um, the big games, so to speak, the Michigan States, if you will, on the schedule. So I think that as long as that remains the case to a certain degree, that it's worthy. All right, we got a guest speaker who's asked to speak. LaMelo Ball, what's up? You're on. You come off of mute.
LaMelo. Yeah, so I was just wanted to talk about maybe the locker room dynamics this year. Who do you think has the biggest wrench on the team?
Jesus Christ.
Oh my!
I don't even know if I could speculate. I don't even know if I'm willing to speculate on that.
Do you think that's causing any problems in the locker room?
Hey, you never know. Like, look, man, that's one of those things where, like, guys get competitive, and who's going to be able to match up? I don't know. You never know there. You never know.
I feel like it could be a contributing factor to the problems we've had.
You never know, man. Yeah, you never. I appreciate that. It's definitely worth further consideration. I wish you were on earlier and could have asked Collin or A-Ray if they had any thoughts there.
Collin could have had some good insight on that one.
It's definitely housing, like by far. It's housing.
Who'd you say, Cam?
It's housing by a million. It's housing.
Oh my goodness! All right, thanks, LaMelo. Appreciate that contribution. Do you have anything else?
That was mostly it.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one, man.
Man, I don't know how I follow like such an intellectual question up, but
what does the space become?
yeah, we really.
That's what all spaces
It always
become.
does.
When you hit,
Have you ever attended Hot Ball Space? Like the first.
Oh my god!
The first hour is intellectual X's and O's talking about the game, and then somehow it becomes like, where are the drunkest mills in Hartford, and what bar are we going to at 3 p.m.?
Man.
And then it turns into, and then there's like an hour-long divergence of like if the beach is a good thing to be at. Like it's just like, yeah, it gets extra.
They got beaches in Connecticut.
Damn. Yeah. No, it's not. It's a fake beach. It's a fake beach. It's on the Long. It's on the Long Island Sound. That's not a real beach. Like you can't have a beach on a body of water that's not an ocean. That's like everyone
Chris,
knows
did
that.
you see the time that they like kicked Hurley Mania off of the space because of how he likes his steaks?
Yeah. So like, look, I want to like that's what happens, right? Like after 11:30, if you've been on a space for 2.5 hours, shit just gets fucking weird. So
they were on a space till 2 a.m. like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, it was crazy.
Yeah,
like couldn't believe it. The Yukon space.
All right, let's mix it up here. We got Friar Express. What's going on, Friar Express?
Hey, listen.
You guys.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Listen, I just have one quick thing. I just kind of hopped in late here, but I saw you had some big names in here, and I respect that. And, just to kind of provide some insight as a Friar fan, I'm not going to troll or anything here, but I want to say that, Nova has won, 6 out of the last 8 Big East regular season titles, I think it is. Or sorry, not regular championships. And I think that, when you take a step back, it's easy to look at this season and kind of, be a little bit down in the dumps. First year head coach. It's just, it's hard. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of new guys. But like you take that another step back and you look at Villanova in the last decade, I think you guys maybe just need to take like one little chill pill and kind of just be like, hey, I think we'll be all right. The last decade was pretty legit. Had a couple natty titles. Let's all just kind of relax and, let Kyle Neptune kind of figure it out in a year or two, and then we'll reevaluate.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I appreciate kind of grounding it a little bit. I think that's definitely like really fair. The reality of the situation is we've definitely been spoiled by the success. I think some of that is that your success creates different expectations, right? Like the refrain that I hear is, well, we're a different program than we were when Jay Wright took over. I think that's a fair point, right? Like so the expectation level is gone up a bit. I think that that's fair. I do think, though, that you do have to allow a little bit of room for the fact that it is a new coach. It's a coach with not a ton of experience, but as a head coach, but a lot of experience as an assistant who knows the school and program well. So I think that there's definitely space for that, and you kind of savor. And it helps you savor some of what we went through over the last 10 years, for sure.
Absolutely, and having high expectations is great because you have to hold the school and the coaching staff accountable, and because if there's no sort of from a fan base, if there's no sort of kind of accountability, you're going to end up at like the next BC where just nobody cares about sports.
Yeah,
everything sucks now, and it's just like it's good that there's success, and it's good that people have such high expectations because that's what leads to more success in the future. So best luck to you guys.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I think I think there's a good point on BC and Georgetown in particular are two schools that, Villanova and Providence of the world consider kind of peer institutions to some degree. And I think that there's maybe a little bit of like looking at BC and Georgetown and seeing kind of what those programs have become. BC, both of those schools, like full bore athletic programs, are just absolute fucking dumpster fires. But like, I think you look at that and like, there's a fear. Oh my God, is Villanova going to become that because of one thing or another? I can't get behind that fear this early on. That could be an optimism thing. That could be pessimism on the other side. Pessimists always consider themselves realists. But like, I can't get there right now. It's one season where we're 8-9. We don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out. There's still some talent on the roster. There's still some talent hurt that might come back. Like I'm willing to say that we're not at the point yet where we have to think like, oh my God, we're turning into Georgetown. Like that was a long time in the making. And a lot of institutional reasons why that has gone terribly, terribly wrong. That's frankly don't exist at Villanova. Like the president of Georgetown thinks NIL is a crisis, right? Like we're maybe like slightly late to the party, but we have an NIL collective, one or two of them, and so we're getting there. So like we believe in it. We have the institutional support and the athletic department to put that on the forefront, and we're willing to spend the money on it. So all of that's there. I think that we'll be okay. But I do think that is a little bit behind why there's some anxiety amongst the fan base. No one wants to see us fall. No one on our side wants to see us fall flat in our face in that regard. But Friar Express, I appreciate you coming in, not being a troll. I do enjoy some of the smack talk that comes across from other fans in these spaces, but I appreciate the you grounding us here. So thanks a lot.
And one last thing, I will be at Nova for the PC game in like a month or whatever. So, just keep an eye out for me.
All right, you're gonna bring it. I'm sure.
I'll be way more obnoxious there.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be several tall boys deep by 11 a.m. All right.
Great.
Thanks, Friar Express. All right. We got a couple other people looking to speak. So, Will, is it Falcone or Falcon? You're on. Hey.
What an amazing job you've done tonight in putting this together. I don't know if you know, Ryan popped in there for a minute. I thought I saw Justin. Thought I saw Mark Armstrong in there. So, one, just kind of be careful when anyone just going in on specific players. Like, not really cool, I don't think. Certainly not in this forum, quite anyway. One, I think that's more just an overarching statement I think I would want to make here. They're kids also. Adults, professionals who are getting paid real salaries, real money. I think they're fair game. So that brings me to my sort of point about Coach Neptune here. I know the guys love him. I know he is like the players guy, but he really just feels to me like he was the yin to Jay's yang, or however you want to put it. And we all know that Jay had serious tough love, certainly outwardly on the bench sometimes. So God knows what it was like in practice. So from a program building standpoint, aside from Jay's ringing endorsement, and from a coaching standpoint, what gives any of you guys the confidence that he's the guy to carry the torch? Because this is a much different from Steve to Jay. Like, this is not, there's the time can't be afforded here to figure this out for 3 to 4 years here, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, all right. So I think you touched on a couple of points there. And I agree with your first point for sure, wholeheartedly. I feel like the answer right now is that the confidence comes from the endorsements that have come from his hiring and like the albeit small track record as a head coach, but also for certain the great track record as an assistant. That being said, I just want to be clear on something here. I've defended, so to speak, but my defense is like couched in the fact of more just like patience, because it takes time with a new coach who has his own way of coaching, right? Like he's been a Jay disciple. He's obviously got a lot of Jay to him, right? That's how he grew up, right? Coaching. That's how he learned. So he doesn't know how to coach an inbounds play because Jay didn't know how to coach an inbounds play, like to save his life. So there's some of that, but in reality though is like I think that I hear your point, but I would say that like I'm not ready to pass a judgment. If we're talking 3 years down the line, and I get you don't want to get into a position where 3 years down the line you're in trouble or whatever. Look, at that point in time, you can
especially with Nil and our also, it's not like we're gang busting there too. So
yeah, but
the fact
with
for a quick combustibility here is an absolute possibility here that I think we should be
absolutely.
facing.
But I think the other side to that coin is between the portal and NIL is that it can combust quick and it makes everything faster, right? Like you can combust quick, and if it doesn't work out for Neptune and we have to go outside the family and hire another coach, it could also get rebuilt pretty quickly. Is kind of my point, and I think there's a lot of infrastructure there. I
That's
also have
fair.
noted.
Honestly, it's probably the best point I've heard. That's a fair. That's probably that the program should be still strong enough to endure that. That's probably the best counterpoint I've heard.
Yeah,
Honestly,
and also like don't discount the fact that like 20 years of Jay has recentered this school on basketball in a way that when Jay was hired, I don't think was the case, right? Like
of course.
Father Dobbin did a great job. One of the better presidents in university history, taking it from a commuter style school to like a really good top end of the Northeastern program. And Father Peter has kind of taken it to just this national university that's become absolutely like world renowned in terms of the institution overall. But there's also an element where if you talk to Father Peter 16 years ago, he would be like, I don't even fucking like basketball. Like I'm a theater guy. He wanted his his performing arts center built, and he wasn't terribly interested in the program. You talk to Father Peter now, and he's gained an appreciation for it. I don't know how much longer Father Peter will be the president, but there's Kerry Kittles is on the board of directors. Like there's a lot there from like an infrastructure standpoint. The fact that they hired Jay and are paying Jay to be a special advisor to the president, so he's in the ear. Like I don't know how long he'll do that, but like the point is that the school has centered itself around basketball. The new building, the Davis Center. They've done upgrades to the athletic facilities writ large. There's a lot more investment there. And the way they run the athletic program too, like you look at a Georgetown and you get worried. You look at a BC and get worried. Trust me when I say this. Talk to some Georgetown and BC fans, and they will tell you about the absolute horror show that are the athletic departments there. Whereas our athletic department, you look around the sports, we're pretty successful across the board. So like there is obviously things can be fleeting, but like there is an element of a backstop there that I think is a little bit better than we might be given credit for. Like they've built a pretty good infrastructure at the university.
Yeah, I think you made like I said, probably the best counterpoint there, and I'm an '03 graduate, so I got to experience the first little 4-year run there without a tournament. So I certainly can attest to that the basketball program was not entrenched. Never mind at the university, at the students, the pavilion. When I was there, the sellouts were sometimes generous, let's call it. So for sure. And it's probably like I said, the best counterpoint that you made to kind of, or just frankly, good point to kind of from a perspective standpoint, because it also is a dollars and cents thing, and they have made a tremendous amount of investment, so they're also not going to treat it as otherwise. They've sunk a lot of dollars into it, so they're going to look at it that way. So
And
I
I'll give you
appreciate it.
on a personal note, and as big a basketball fan as I am, I donate to the school every year, and I'm going to continue to donate to school every year, no matter how the basketball team does. So like that's just for me. Like I'm committed
Of
to my
course,
I'm
of
committed
course.
to my university, beyond the basketball team. The basketball team happens to be the number one way in which I commit my time, but there, I think a lot of people are committed beyond hoops.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it. Again, great job tonight. I
Thanks, Will. I
think we all
appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it. Yep. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Trevor, you've had your hand raised.
Yeah, I gotta get off in a minute. But just going back to that, like I talked to a couple people in the athletic department yesterday. I just like happened to be there for something and was chatting with them. Like Neptune was his guy that he handpicked. He had the calls with the other candidates that were like Baker and Ash and whoever else, but he was their guy. It's Villanova. They've had two football coaches in the past 40 years or since whenever the program came back. Like, they don't just drop coaches especially after one season. Like, you look at what Neptune did with Fordham, where he basically reconstructed a roster over the summer from when he got hired to when they played their first game. Like, people forget he brought in like 7 guys from the transfer portal, and those guys that he brought in are a big part of their success this season too. Plus, obviously, his associate head coach that he had, that again came from here back in the day.
Keith Ergo, love
Yeah,
Keith Ergo.
we just gotta be patient. Like, how many of us have started a job, like, not knowing what we're doing in the first however long, but the stakes are much lower for us because nobody's watching us do our job on national TV every night. Like, everybody's just.
Well, in fairness, though, no one's
Yeah, I
paying me
know.
$2 million either.
Oh well, I didn't ask. But but no, if you look at the way the university operates, like, it's the same track coach since he graduated. Pretty like Marcus O'Sullivan, he's been there since the '80s. Football program, 2 head coaches in however many. Like, we don't have coach turnover.
I mean, did Harry Peretta
I know he literally.
Harry Peretta did he know
Yeah.
Jesus Christ personally? I don't know.
Yeah. Harry was. Denise Dillon is the second coach in women's basketball history. Like, we're not in the business of coach turnover, so I think they're gonna be patient. Someone that I'm not going to name mentioned, like, okay, if this is still a problem in 5 years, then, like, yeah. But he's going to have his time. So we just got to get comfortable.
But let's put it this way, though. If it does get ugly, they will react. Right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between us and Georgetown, right? Like, Georgetown
of course.
Georgetown looked at an 0-20 season and said, Patrick Ewing's the guy to turn this around.
No, you're right. And I mean, but I'm saying they're not looking at one. He's going to get his chance. He's going to get a fair shake, and he's not going to get away with abusing it like Patrick Ewing did, but he's getting his chance. Like, people calling for his head, just, you're in for it if you're there right now.
That's kind of been my biggest point, is that, like, look, man, like, I want to stay on the range of reasonable outcomes, and it's just, like, not what's going to happen. Like, so, like, which is, like, you could argue, well, maybe it should. Like, fine, I get that point. But, like, it's just, like, this is a school you went to. If you went to the school, if you didn't go to the school, trying to give you a little bit of a heads up as to, like, what Villanova does and what Villanova is about, and just like they've made a very good living over the years by being very loyal to their coaches, and that's been the expectation that if you are successful and do the right behaviors and maintain good institutional control, you'll have a semblance of job security if you can get things going from a winning standpoint over time, has kind of been the mantra. And it's been one of the reasons why we were able to get a guy like a Jay Wright, and he was allowed to kind of blossom into the Hall of Famer that he was. And by the way, Massimino should also be in the Hall of Fame, which is a travesty. But that's one of the reasons.
Can't
why
put him in the Hall of Fame. He broke up the Big Five, man.
Yeah, Jesus. So, all right.
No, and with that, I'm rolling. Thanks for putting everything together. Hear from you, I'm sure, during the game tomorrow. Take it easy.
Thanks, Trevor. All right, we got Kyle, and I mean, if he's willing to come back, we got Kyle. Kyle, what's up, man?
What's going on? Thanks for hosting tonight. Appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Just a couple thoughts about the program, and I say, this year, obviously, it's not what I was expecting, but given everything, the guys are working their ass off, so obviously, it's not, any pointing finger time or anything, but just looking down the line for the next couple of years for Neptune, I mean, all these guys coming in were expecting to play 4J, whether they stayed or not. After he left was obviously up to them, but it's going to be. I'm curious to see over the next couple of years to see what kind of guys Kyle gets, and also for next year whether we do look at the transfer portal, because I know you got Slater and Daniels leaving, Cam's obviously going league, and then. Who knows what a couple other guys are going to do, but that's the one thing that I'm really concerned about our culture is, what kind of guys we bring in from the transfer portal, how NIL works with all that. Cause I know we're not really a transfer program, besides Pascal, Cremo came,
Caleb,
yeah.
yeah.
It's just and obviously Caleb embodies the Villanova culture so well. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of guys we do get. I'm just curious on your thoughts about the next couple of years, what kind of recruiting class transfer portal we're going to look at.
Yeah, my thought is that we're going to hit it. I mean, you look at kind of the roster construction, right? Like Caleb and Slater have to go, right? Like they're on their way out. Whitmore, barring some unbelievable NIL deal that is just whatever. But even beyond that, he should go, right?
Yeah,
Whether
he'll go in the top 10.
Yeah, he should go. If I'm advising Cam Whitmore, I'm telling him, yeah, you should go, right? And I think that's healthy for the school and him. So, and then you don't know where Moore is going to shake out with. I've heard everything from, I mean, if he sits out this entire year, he technically can pick up a medical red shirt and be here for 2 more years. But he's also older. I would understand if he wants to play professionally over, whether it be here, overseas, whatever it may be. I still think that there's a lot of talent to there, and could find his way with workouts. Maybe a back end of the second round, more likely get workouts after the draft, get signed onto some type of summer league contract and prove himself, and no one's going to work harder than him. So
I think if he gets in front of the scouts and they tell him you're ready, I think he makes it to the league no matter what. He's so freaking good. But
yeah, so I think when you look at the roster construction next season, there's going to be opportunities, right? With the portal, you look at the portal out, right? I think there's a lot of fear. I actually think that there's a good amount to be hopeful for, because a lot of the guys coming back are going to think to themselves, yeah, I have a really good opportunity to earn some playing time, and make a real big impact on this team. And I think that there's there. I'm not ruling out transfers. There's always transfers. That's healthy in every program. That's part of the deal. The other point, though, that I'll bring out is I do think that we do go to the portal to bring in a couple guys, but I look for us to be highly selective in terms of what we want, both in terms of positioning, and in terms of culture fits, right? I think you'd see us maybe go, maybe not to the highest end guy on the portal. Cooley got Bryce Hopkins this year. I think that'll be tough to come by. Could it happen? Of course. But I think you look at maybe UConn picked up Joey Calcaterra, who was happy kind of playing a role on this UConn team this year. I think that is kind of along the lines of what we look to in the portal, kind of fill out the roster, and bring in guys, a la a Cremo, a la a Pascal, a la Caleb Daniels, who can fill out the roster and also have a good impact on the team.
Yeah, I was thinking because I want guys that are going to stay 2-3 years down the line that can obviously follow the mold that we had the past 8 years of passing the baton, next man up, teaching other guys their roles and then filling in their roles and et cetera. Just, not rebuild, but retool.
It takes
Not rebuild, but reload. It's just, it's a spot that we haven't been in what, 12 years?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing about that was we had, Arch and Ochefu come in and reset everything. So I don't know if we're going to get that next year, but I want Neptune to get his guys and, see how he does when, he actually brings in the guys that are coming to play for him.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. No, I appreciate that point, Kyle. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be cool. I think that there is an element here where, given where the season's at right now, there's an element of like, hey, you can kind of look at this season and kind of appreciate each game on its own, as opposed to putting it in this context of this greater tournament resume building thing, and actually think about it from like an individual player standpoint and look at what each player is contributing, bringing to the table, and improving upon. Right, like one of my favorite parts about this season is kind of seeing the development of Mark Armstrong as an example. Right, like kind of was getting spot minutes early, and as over the last 3 games earning 25 plus minutes a game. Right, like
Yeah.
he's become a Villanova guard under as we watch. Like, have the results on the court in terms of performance been up and down, and has the record not been there? Yeah, but it's also kind of awesome to watch a kid kind of come into his own in the program. So that's the kind of thing that as fans that we can get excited about, because all those little things are kind of what will kind of turn this thing around going forward.
Exactly. And I also think like, it's easy to overlook, but like the work that, Caleb and Slater and Dixon are doing as leaders too, roles that they haven't really stepped into it like this year. They were part of a Final Four team, were really good in their roles. And it's, even though it's not the record that, we're hoping for right now, it's nice that they get to see the fruit of their labors is like actually being the leaders on the team,
Totally. And like also like there's still a lot of talent to come back next year, right? Like Eric Dixon's got, I mean, Collin maybe might be able to answer, is he still back on the space? But I think he's got 2 more years of eligibility, or let's see, he redshirted the year before COVID. He got a free COVID year. I think he's got 2 more
Yeah, he's got
seasons
2.
left. Yeah. So, um,
In 2
yeah,
years, he may be averaging 25.
yeah. Collin gave me the thumbs up here. So like he's got 2 more years left, right? Like, and if Nana and Joku continues to develop, he got hurt recently. I want to see him find his way on the court, because he's been, everything that you ever hear about him is great things from like a culture standpoint and fit standpoint, right? Like he's a 4-star guy who, if he can develop, right, and find his way onto the floor, right, like Eric Dixon can maybe move over to the 4, which is actually maybe a slightly better position for him, and like that frees us up to be way better from that perspective. Like imagine having Dixon be your 4 man, like you could spread the floor, you could do everything. So a lot to be excited about, and I'm interested to see kind of where it goes.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Kyle. All right, we got Joe back. Joe, you're back on. I don't know. Have you had another bourbon since we last talked?
Yeah. So I the Booker's batch 2 for 2022. So you guys can
I love
catch
it.
up. All right. So I want to look into the future a little bit. I want to get positive. I want to feel nice. I like Jordan Dumont, this guy. So he apparently just like is a bucket, and I think if I saw it on the internet this week, he's on the list for the McDonald's stuff, whatever they need to do. Do you guys have any insight on anyone else that we're in that crop? I know that the only other name I thought of that I think I saw was that Chris Parker. I don't know. I just want your thoughts on like, do you guys know anyone else that we're just like looking at and trying to get in? I know Jordan signed this letter of intent, but I just want to get a feel for what else we got going on. Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you, just to level with everybody here. Recruiting is kind of like the high school stuff is where I kind of like draw the line of like where I'm just like limited. And I hate to be like we host this podcast, etc. We try to have as good of information and we try and bring everyone what we can. When I talk about like just like, hey, what do I have the capacity for? Like we probably should try and find someone who is really in deep in that. I just don't have that insight. I'm excited about Jordan Dumont. I think I think with some time and watching more games throughout the season, probably identify some guys who we could pick up in the portal. But like just the recruiting side of things, it's just like I don't know. There's something about watching 16-year-old kids play basketball that I just can't get my mind around. Being completely candid.
Well, to your point, like yeah, like if they don't commit to us, I don't watch the year. I'm not like trying to like be a creep, but I was just wondering if like anyone had like any sight lines on anyone else. That's all. Thanks.
Yeah. I don't know if a couple guys requested to speak. I don't know if anyone does. I don't.
I mean, I'll step. I mean, I could.
Yeah.
I mean, can we go back to what what Collin said earlier about how 5 stars don't win championships? Because he's spot on. I posted earlier. Like, if you look at all the 5 stars, Quinterly transferred. Yes, Whitmore, I get it. We all love Whitmore. He's awesome. That's why my name's after him. But the other guys, Spellman.
Well, Spellman did win.
Spellman did. Okay, so yeah, one. But one and done. Which we don't like. That was never our thing to do. One like, or what were the what most one and done like Tim Thomas and how? I mean,
Hey
Spell.
guys, I want to step in real quick.
Yeah.
I think you guys are misunderstanding my question. It's not about like star chasing. I'm trying to
Yeah, you're trying to figure out the
positive.
future. But think about who we have now. Look at Armstrong. Look at Longino. Look at where he transferred.
You don't have to talk to me.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that
Yeah.
on the New Jersey Strong
Oh yeah.
podcast.
I mean that's
I
where
am the
that's where they
number
come
one
from.
Armstrong effer. I grew up where Armstrong's from. Like I'm just saying, like I didn't want to like. Sorry, I didn't want to like misunderstand. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me.
No, I got you.
I was just like I saw. I'm excited about Jordan Dumont. I'm just curious if anyone knew anyone else about anyone else. I don't want to like shit on
I
what
don't.
we have. I'm excited.
No, I'm with you 100.
Armstrong,
I'm with you
dude.
100% on that. He made the McDonald's and then to your point. Not only is there anyone that we're recruiting out of high school, but is there possibly anyone that we're looking at from the transfer portal?
Yeah,
it'd be interesting. I'm with you 100%. It's
Yeah,
a good point.
that was like the real question. Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I apologize that I don't I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. That's just not what I'm going to do. So I don't know. Joe, anything else?
No, I want to know how many fingers of bourbon you're drinking. That's it. But thanks. Bye.
I had 3 or 4 total tonight. I kept it a little on the a little on the easy side tonight. All right. Hey, so we're at 12:23 here. We've had a great space. So I'm going to put it on last call now. Any last parting thoughts? Last final questions? Anything else? Anything else on anybody's mind? Going once, going twice. All right, sold. Hey, thank you everybody for listening. We have the recording of this. If you want to, randomly listen to a 3.5 hour Twitter space recording with some fireworks. I really appreciate everyone's coming up. Yeah, I appreciate everybody who shared their thoughts and feelings tonight. Thank you everybody for listening, and as always, let's go Nova.